recording start? Recording started. Okay. So, as promised back whenever I was still a 2,500, 3,000 subscriber Andy, I promised you guys at 5,000 we would do part 3 to the most popular series on this channel, which is responding to your Dead by Daylight hot takes. But this time around, I brought a DBD veteran, Bran, aka the Mr. Headache, aka the most professional Xenomorph player in the world, to join me. Bran, you want to tell people who you are?
I stink, but not too badly. Yeah, I wrote the Xenomorph guide, 273 pages of very, very excellent Xenomorph content. I am number 5 in the world in terms of total tail tax on Steam, and I work really hard on my content, and I'm not the worst, so there's something.
Yeah. And the good thing about having Bran here is, like, very often during these videos, somebody will say something about the older days of Dead by Daylight, and I'll be like, I have no fucking clue what you're talking about. So now Bran can be here to tell you what he thinks about some of those. So Bran, you can see the screen pretty well?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into it. As always, I've sorted these from newest to oldest, and then we go from the bottom, work our way up. So we'll start with Tautamir. That says killers should be able to Mori survivors when they are on Deathlock. I'm guessing they mean as a base kit.
Ebony Mori base kit?
Yeah, I think they mean Ebony Mori base kit. I don't agree with that.
Cypress would be fine.
Yeah, Cypress is great. I like the idea. The devs were talking about Cypress. I'm really hoping they don't take away Ebony Mori. Yeah,
it's one of those things where it kind of it does have a competitive advantage to it, because you can circumvent anti-tunnel, and you can also circumvent saves that could potentially happen. So it is an omission of gameplay to have an Ebony, but like at least you can bring it by paying for it. So there's kind of like a cost to doing it. Mm-hmm. But just having it every single game would mean that like there was a big like vacuum of gameplay, because once somebody was Deathlock, there would just be nobody hovering for saves. There'd be nobody wanting to use their perks. It's just kind of,
yeah, like it would literally be like, oh, I'm Deathhook, oh, I'm injured, I guess I'm dead. Like like it'd be very rare for people on Deathhook to actually get out of the game at that point, because while saves don't happen often, they do happen. You have a little bit of hope. So also, like, if you like down somebody like right inside the exit gate on Deathhook or something like that, and normally you would have a chance to pick them up, but then you don't have to worry about it. Next up is star raising, which yeah, I knew it. They always, every single one of my videos right here, they always comment Dead by Daylight. Like, that's the only comment they ever make on my videos. It's funny. They say gen rushing, in quotes, isn't really gen rushing. It's just survivors playing the game normally. Literally, what else are you supposed to do when someone else is looping the killer? Loot a chest for a brown toolbox, cleanse a dull totem. Also, a big problem with gen efficiency is the fact that survivor gameplay typically boils down to split up equals win, stick together equals lose. If it were up to me, gens would take even longer, but the efficiency penalty for doubling up on gens would be removed entirely. I agree and disagree, because like gen rushing does exist, but like most of the time it literally is just the survivors doing their objective, because they only have one fucking objective to do. But I don't think making gens longer is the answer.
I feel like there's just like a miscommunication of like the definition of what gen rushing is. It's because like we kind of don't have solid definitions, and it's very much like community like patrolled with that. Gen rushing just means doing gen super efficiently, like having like brand new parts, commodious toolbox, doing a gen. And like we had I had a gen today going 25 seconds because they had proved streetwise and brand new parts. It was awful. That's gen rushing, because gens are supposed to take around 90 seconds, and you can adjust that to be even better by bringing perks, items, add-ons. Yeah. But if you specifically like curb the game to do it at like the maximum efficiency, yeah, that's gen rushing. Yeah. Right. But people assume any sort of slight gen efficiency, like a gen pops at like 70 seconds instead of 90. They're like, oh, it's gen rushing. It's like, that's fair. That's some leeway.
Yeah. No, one time I had hyper-focus stakeout BNP commodious swivel socket with deja vu on Midwich, and the killer was chasing someone below me, and I timed it. I finished a gen in 31 seconds by myself. That's fucking gen rushing. Nope. That's fucking gen rush. Most of the time when salty killers call gen rushing, it's not gen rushing, it's just gen efficiency, like you said. But I don't, like I said, I don't think making gens take longer is the answer, because at the end of the day, the core problem is that the survivors have nothing else to do. I've always been a fan of adding a secondary objective to the game to slow down gens, but that's just me.
I feel like gens would be, I feel like the general direction we're going in Dead by Daylight makes the sense, is that we're trying to like kind of finally tackle gen rust versus gen slowdown.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the Chaos Shuffle is showing us that like once Perk versus Perk is gone, the game's in a pretty like fun state, and a lot of people love Chaos Shuffle for that reason. So I feel like once we kind of mitigate a lot of the overwhelming strength with a lot of this stuff, a lot of these terms will start dying out.
Yeah, that's something we can only hope for, and we'll get closer to that all important balance the community is desperately. Next one says Nurse is one of the easiest killers in the game. Not joking. You didn't have to put that at the end. I assume if you type a take in here, then you're not kidding. But I Nurse has a high skill floor, and I don't understand why people won't recognize that. Like, I said this in my Nurse analysis, I really fucking hate when people are like, oh, well, my friend that never plays Killer got on Nurse, and they got a 4K. Yeah, it's because they're also going against survivors that never play Survivor, and so they're all standing still and urban evasioning into a wall. Like, of course they're going to go down to a fucking Nurse, but, like, I was talking about this with my chat, I think today or yesterday, something like that. I was playing Nurse, and I was like, what frustrates me about Nurse is that as you get over that middle curve, and you get into the I hate the term high MMR, but you get into the higher MMRs, Nurse gets significantly harder to play because survivors start knowing what the fuck to do against her. And it's just like, she's got a high skill floor. Whether or not she's like easy once you get over that skill floor, I think is up for debate. But denying that she's got a high skill floor, I don't agree with. She's really hard to get used to.
It's, if this is, you know, reading hot takes, this is definitely a hot take, and I don't know, like they say they're not joking, but like it's definitely an exaggeration to be a hot take. Nurse plays a completely different game than the rest of the cast. Like, I get the general sentiment that like, yeah, I can hop on Nurse and do fairly okay, but that's because I have 6.3 almost 4K hours in the game. But like the average player just hopping on Nurse is gonna have a bad time because you have to play her completely different than everybody else. So to say she's just easy that's not true at all.
Yeah. This one is, when I read this one, or when I read this one, I was like, oh, Brand's gonna enjoy this. It says post rework Skull Merchant is way too overhated. She's not well designed, but some people would rather just immediately kill themselves on hook instead of actually learning to counterplay her. These childish outbursts from some parts of the community are really pathetic. I agree, she's way too overhated. I think that she falls into a very similar camp to any other anti-loop killer, but for some reason she gets the brunt of the hate.
It's because she's the strongest of the I don't have to effort sandwich killers. That's why. Because like compared to like Knight or like Dredge, who has the Remnant, like who has an easier time but a stronger time just going, my thing goes here and now I hit you.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, and you and I are at not odds, but you and I are in like different camps with this. I feel like so many people would just, they would rather complain about the counterplay than just do it, because like I find myself looping Skull Merchants pretty well, and I don't like anecdotal evidence, but as a bad player, I feel like if I can loop them, if I can figure it out, I feel like most people can, or maybe I'm just being a jackass about that. I don't know. You tell me.
It's one of those things where like there's things you should absolutely be doing, like not running into the raise if you can help it, disabling the drones when you're not in chase, or that sort of thing. You should absolutely be doing those things, but it's one of those things where this conversation becomes so polarized that nobody has the right idea of the truth anymore. Like This comment is saying, some people are like, oh, there's no counterplay and she's just terrible, which is not true. But you know, the people are like, oh, she's just an ocean full of fish of gameplay and she's just sunshine and rainbows to face. You just have to get good, fool. Like, they're stupid too, right?
Yeah.
Like the truth is in the middle that, yeah, there's some things you should absolutely be doing. But yeah, there's tons of cases where she's there, drone's there, and either you get tagged or you get hit, and that's just it.
Yeah. and I like, for me personally, I just feel like the only change I feel like she needs is disabling her drones gets rid of lock on stacks. I feel like if that was in the game, either that or disabling her drones puts it on like an actual cooldown and returns it to her. So it can't just be like, you know, like 45 seconds later, it just pops back over. Like, what's the point of disabling it? I feel like disabling drones, while it is significant counterplay, doesn't actually do anything, because either you disable the drone and she knows you disabled the drone, so she comes check and see what the fuck you're doing, or you don't disable the drone, or you disable the drone and then it stays disabled. She doesn't come near you, but by the time she saunters her sexy ass over there, the damn things came back. So what was the point of you disabling it for the first place? Because it doesn't scan you while you're doing a gen anyway. So I just feel like disabling the drones needs to actually mean something. And that's the only change I want for her. I think her anti-loop is fine, but that's just me.
I think it's another thing that like a lot of people omit when they're having this conversation is this kind of like context is like, yeah, she does have this counterplay of, yeah, get rid of the drones when she's not around. But then again, if she's paying attention, that's info and she can just come back and put another one there. Or, you know, you can, use line of sight blockers to avoid the race, but that's map dependent. And if she's running at you, she can force you into it. Like there's always like a caveat to it that is usually omitted, and that context is important.
Yeah, and I feel like there's like such a deeper conversation we don't have time for in a video with over 100 comments to reply to, but it's definitely one that I think I was actually going to talk to you about, maybe us having like another day, because we both view Skull Merchant in similar yet different ways, so I think that might be an interesting topic to talk about. Next up is Gold Kitsune Brony, which is one of our channel members. Thank you for being a channel member.
Thank you.
Says, no, you don't need camping, tunneling, meta perks, or S tier killers to win in the high MMR. You're just bad and over-reliant on those things is why you think you're good. I think that is a loaded ass statement. and
wrong.
It's I don't think anybody says you need these things, but like, you're definitely going to have a much harder time. Like if you're playing against survivors who like have just the slightest idea about, not the slightest, that's an over exaggeration, but if you're playing against survivors who like have the knowledge of how to play Survivor and do it efficiently, even if there's like say 2 of them on the team out of 4, you're just going to have a much harder time fucking going in there with, let's not even say a bottom tier killer. Let's say you go in there with Pig. Pig's a mid tier killer. I think most of us can agree on that. Let's say you go in there with fucking Pig, right? But what are you gonna fucking do against people who understand how to play the fucking game? You hope that they give you leeway? I don't. You're not doing shit against them, except trying to switch. If you're not bringing an S tier killer, camping and tunneling is probably necessary. If you're bringing below a C tier killer, you almost definitely need meta perks. Like you need one of these things. If you don't have all of them, you're just gonna have a bad time.
I think the key word here is consistently.
Yeah.
Like, can you play at high MR, get that 4-man who's just throwing for flashlight saves, play Pig and just like body them? Like, yeah, absolutely. But like most of your games, like 60-70% plus, without even one of these, you're going to start having a bad time.
And that's not, and that's also to say, like, camping and tunneling, these are such I feel like these are such buzzwords in the community, because like that shit happens a lot of time because of the survivors. Like 99% of the time that I play the game, camping and tunneling happens because of the survivors' actions.
I'm gonna unhook and then run away and hide. Wow, the killer chased the guy that only person he could see. What a tunneler.
Yeah, like fucking, oh, I got unhooked and then I decided to run directly toward the killer despite the terror radius getting bigger and bigger. Oh my god, filthy tunneler. Oh, I'm gonna run directly to the person who's on hook and then loop the killer around that person on hook. How dare you camp me? Like, this shit happens all the fucking time. Like, what do you want me to do, bro? My bad. Oh god. Blekis says they have a few for us. I know Blekis as well. They're actually very, very kind. Let's try to get through the. Do you want to do all of these, or do you just want to do like a couple?
Pick a favorite.
Pick a favorite. Let me skim them real quick. Did you play during Deathslinger's quick ADS?
Yes, I did.
Okay, let's go with number 5. Deathslinger needs to be able to quick scope again. It's what made him fun to play. I personally think that all they actually need to do is change the way. I wonder, did you know this? So do you know how they got rid of quickscoping? Like how they programmed it?
No.
So instead of making it to where when you hold right click, it has to wait for the rifle to come all the way up before you can fire, there's a delay between hitting left click and the thing actually firing. And I think that's the wrong way to get rid of quickscoping. Because now every single time you fire, there's a delay. That's how I would fix it. But what was it like to play against quickscope Slinger? Was it a pain in the ass?
It was lame because he would just like walk up and just like spam aim and then hit you, and there was kind of just like there wasn't even like a mind game there. He just essentially came at you and just like quick scoped a bunch and then hit you. It wasn't very fun. I think my solution to this always was like give him strafe speed, like so you can go like back and forth really quickly after you've started aiming.
That's
I always thought that would be neat, but they never went that direction with it.
That would be interesting, actually. That sounds like a fire. Slinger's one of my favorite characters to play. So yeah, for sure. Mogsel. These are a few different ones. Okay, I like the Scourge hooks. I like talking about Scourge hooks. You know Scourge hooks. Fun fact about me. Scourge hooks are my favorite perk type in the game, and I wish we had more of them. Let's see. Scourge hooks should rotate after hooking someone on one. This would partially fix the camping RNG problem with them, especially with old pain res. Plus, it could prevent Scourge hooks from despawning, although hooks shouldn't be respawning. I think they meant despawning to begin with. That's interesting. That's an interesting solution.
Not in a mean way. I don't care because, like literally, like not all perks are made equal, and not all perks are designed to be made to get value out of consistently every single time. Like Hextomes, for example. Back when Hextomes were meta, like Ruin was meta and Undying was meta. Like the idea of that meta was okay. Well, you're going to be able to put a lot of pressure on the gens, but at some point your pressure literally goes away, and then you're playing with two perks. And Scourge hooks are kind of designed in the same way that, like, yeah, you get access to, at least with like pain res and somewhat gifted pain and stuff like that, you're going to have access to these really strong perks, but you may not always have access to that, to a hook that will activate them. That's kind of like inherently part of the design. And I think people get frustrated by bad Scourge hook spawns and go, well, this is a problem. And it's like, well, it's like asking for hex totems that would not be able to be found or popped or something to that extent to me.
Yeah, I mean, I agree and disagree. My thing with Scourge hook RNG, at least in my opinion, was always that like the spawn logic should divide the map into quarters, so 4 different sections, and then just have one Scourge hook spawn in each of those sections. So you can still have a Scourge hook spawn too far away from you to get to, but at the very least, you don't see all 4 of them in one corner of the map where the survivors are never going to go because there's no generators over there either. You know what I mean? That's the way I thought it. But the more interesting thing to me is, this has been cropping up a lot lately, is whether or not hooks should break when people are sacrificed on them.
I feel like if you've already sacrificed somebody, like you've already put yourself in a really advantageous position. So I don't think it's too terrible if somebody, like, you know, you carry somebody too long and they wiggle out, because you already are in an advantageous position when that happens. And the amount of times realistically over the years that I've had somebody wiggle and it's cost me the game has been very minimal.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, because like I can think of one time in recent memory where that kind of fucked me, because the only hook that spawned in that area, because they brought some fucking petrified oaks, the only hook that spawned in that area got broken because I sacrificed somebody, and they ended up with a 3-man out because that hook got broken. And I was like, oh, okay, that sucks. That was very frustrating, but I think overall it's probably not that big of a problem. Yeah.
Honestly, if we're wanting people to do more things other than gens, we can't snap at people for wanting to do Sabo builds and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. It's aggravating, but it's not the end of the world.
Well, that is the DBD crux, right? It's like things that frustrate me are automatically unbalanced, so therefore they should change. That's like that's a jump.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I apparently it was an unpopular opinion, but as a killer main, I was like, adrenaline's fine, don't touch it, please. Like I was okay with them removing like the ability for it to wake you up against Freddy. Because now Black Box inherently, this is so funny, Black Box inherently got shadow buffed by that change.
True.
So that's funny. But other than that, I thought adrenaline was fine. I never wanted it to be nerfed. Because people were like, well, it was annoying because they would get unhooked and then instantly healed. And I was like, yeah, that is annoying, but it's fine, dude. Like, how often is them staying injured? How often was them staying injured once the exit gates were powered going to get you that kill? Most of the time you were going to hit into their base kit borrowed time and they were going to make it to the gate anyway. Or someone was going to body block them.
I think a lot of the environments in which that happened is that they're facing like a team that was coordinated, and they like to bring Addy because they're coordinating, so they're probably going to at least get to the last gen, so might as well like get a second wind, not the perk, out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So most times I see somebody complain about adrenaline, because I watch a lot of killer streams, is they weren't going to win anyway. If they got that down. So I never understood why Addy was so hated, besides just like it feels bad, because 9 times out of 10 I'd see somebody get Addy and I realized that like them getting the down would not have resulted in any sort of win or snowball.
Yeah, so I agree. Unprofessional commentate, that's an amazing name. Says DBD is survivor sided, always will be, unless a lot of perks on the survivor side are balanced when the survivors stack some of the strongest perks, then otherwise it's survivor sided, especially him and Mori. I think DBD is in the most balanced state it's ever been in, and it's neither sided.
I think this is going to be something that a lot of people don't want to hear, especially weird coming from people that, you know, primarily play killer. It kind of should be, because that's majority of the player base, and if a majority of the player base is having a really, really rough, miserable time, you're going to make people leave the game in droves. So yeah, I know. Well, like, it's one of those things too, where like people try to like summon the, oh, well, you're a big bad killer, so you shouldn't be outnumbered by the survivors and made to feel weak. Do you watch horror films? who wins 90% of horror movies? Is it the killer or is it the survivors?
Yeah. No, exactly. Like, that's,
it may come down to a final girl, like 1 or 2 survivors, but like killers they're the antagonists. They don't win their movies most of the time. So I don't know where that comes from either. It's just a very weird thing.
Yeah. Next up is Coffee Mug. Coffee has some interesting opinions. Coffee says Freddy doesn't need another rework, just some quality of life changes, like having the ability to teleport to a gen after the games are done, change the ability to teleport to locker like Dredge, change snares to put survivors to sleep for awake survivors, and make Dream Palette base kit. People who play Freddy and say he is trash are people who play snares Freddy and don't know that you can play him as a chase killer. What? Wait, what? Okay, I was with you up until that last sentence, dog. I was like, yeah, that's what the locker change I'm not down for. I think he should just be able to teleport to completed gens, but like everything else was cool. Like, yeah, put survivors to sleep with snares and Dream Palette base kit, and then you just fucking, like, you were on a train track and then you just derailed into the fucking Himalayas, bro. What the fuck is this? Like, what? I play Palette Freddy and I know he's garbage, dude. And you can't play him as how do you play Freddy as a chase killer? Do you know what that's about? What chase power does he have?
You lower MMR and
he's an anti-loop killer at best. At best.
He is like a proto anti-loop killer before anti-loop killers got really, really strong and really, really good. So he has aspects like the snares, like, you know, the Dream Palettes, but both are like the weakest forms of these that could exist in the game. And honestly, if he did not have a teleport, he'd have absolutely nothing going for him. I feel like we were having this conversation during Forever Freddy, back when he didn't have a slowdown, when he placed movement speed penalty, rather, when he puts down his snares, when he can put his snares around objects, which they patched out. Like, we would have a little bit of a leeway to be like, well, at least he's not the worst in the game. But like, he wasn't even like C tier at like I feel like besides Forever Freddy, there was like not even an instance where he was like C tier at least.
Yeah, like it's just he's just so like the only thing that keeps him out of F tier is that fucking teleport. Like if he didn't have that teleport, he'd be an F tier with Myers and Trapper, like without a fucking doubt.
Yeah, because like if you're on like a huge, we're talking like Greenville Square, 160 square tiles, right? Say you're chasing somebody at the fountain, or it's a statue, it's not a fountain, the statue back there, and they're on the theater gen, and you just got your pop from downing somebody. You could actually go prevent main building from popping. Yeah. Trapper, what do you do? Yeah. Myers, what do you do?
You hook it and then you hear it go bung and you go, well, that's just another fucking day on this killer. Yeah, no, that's that last sentence was fucking wild, man. I told you coffee has some, he has some takes, man. Mindbender says, killer, you cannot win a game as killer against good survivors without tunneling and slugging at least a little bit. I agree. I think we just had this conversation further down.
Yes, but asterisk, what you consider to be good survivors is contextual.
Yeah, that is true. Oh, he looped me for more than 20 seconds. He's a good survivor. No, bro, you just don't mind game like at all. Like the amount of time I've watched people be like, oh, I can't do anything against survivors. And I just watch them hold W around a trash loop. And I'm like, brother, just go the other way. Why are you looping the long side? What are you doing? Just go the other way.
I once looped a Singularity for 4 gens on Borgo because he wanted to teleport over every single loop.
Oh my god, dude. Yeah, that sounds about right. And then they this is only 2. That's why I'm doing both. It's not like fucking 12 of them. But Survivor, Unbreakable needs to be base kit. Camping needs to slow down the sacrifice progress based on how far the killer is in walking distance. What?
Unbreakable, we tried that. We tried the Unbreakable base kit, and that did not work.
Yeah, I wasn't there for that, but the way, like, I watched a Dead Plays video on it, and the way that worked was, like, you just equipped Oni and won every game.
Basically, any killer that had good slugging potential won the game really, really quickly, and if you were, God forbid, somebody who was not a top 10 killer, like, everybody just got back up anytime you tried to slug.
Yeah, I've toyed with the idea of Unbreakable being base kit, but, like, I feel like it needs to have, like, a massive timer. Like a 60-second timer minimum, because like sometimes I have to slug you, man, and sometimes it has to be for a while, so they don't get a free pallet save on your ass.
I don't want to get back up with Unbreakable and get a second chance to win the game when I'm being slugged for a long time. I just want to bleed out. I just want to go next without being DC penalty. That's all. Yeah,
that's fair. What about the camping needs to slow down sacrifice progress? That's really weird. I don't know how to feel about that one.
I mean, we already have anti-camp.
Yeah, we have anti-face camp. I don't think we need more. I think it's fine.
Yeah, I don't want that.
Melon Plays says Nurse is not the hardest killer in the game. She may be the best killer in the game, but strength doesn't equal difficulty. I agree. She's not the hardest. That definitely goes to this. The highest skill floor in the game, in my opinion, is Vecna, but arguably it's also Singularity. Like there are definitely killers with higher skill floors, but no killer in this game has a higher skill ceiling, because skill ceiling is about value, and no killer in this game gets the most value than Nurse. But skill floor is about how much skill you need to have to get value, and there are definitely killers that are harder to learn than nurses. But yeah.
People who say that Nurse is the hardest killer in the game either main Nurse or watch a Nurse streamer, and they really want to feel cool, so they say they're the hardest. My character is so complex and difficult. Look at this.
Yeah, it takes a while. It takes a while to learn her, but yeah, she's not the hardest. She's not even. I don't even think she's close to the hardest. I wouldn't even say she's in the top 5 hardest to learn. There's so many killers with higher skill floors. Fucking Billy, Singularity, Vecna, arguably Oni. Yeah, there's a
Xenomorph. Look at all you. Deal with your turrets. Break the turrets. Why are we spending so much time outside my power? Kill the turrets then.
I love the dynamic in the DBD community between survivors who say turrets are completely useless and killers who say that turrets are the most overpowered counterplay since Singularity.
I want to fucking peel my own skin off every time I hear somebody say that. Turrets are overpowered. I can't do anything about it. Okay, so first, we did a test today. I got broken out my power 6 times in 6 hours. No turret perks. Just hit it. There's this cool thing. It's called tail tack. Hit it. Brother, jeez.
Oh my god. I feel like if someone just like unleashed you to just rant about like bad takes on just the Xenomorph, you could do like a 3-hour video. Like,
it is one of the most misunderstood characters in the game, and I wrote 273 pages, and people don't read it, and they just complain more, and I just...
Fox Bosom? Bosun. That says Bosun. I can't read. RPD... Oh, this one's for you. I have no idea about this one. I remember this one. I said, oh, Brand's going to have to deal with this one. Because RPD was a good map once you learned the layout, but once the devs split it into 2 maps, they made it worse. All they needed to do to RPD was close off the stairs and library and blast all the extra holes. But what they did instead was split it into 2 maps to make it smaller. Then they added a whole extra section to the map so that it's still the exact same size as before. The only difference now is it is alongside the quality of life wall holes. They added annoying blockades that do nothing but interrupt the flow of gameplay, make RPD one map again, and remove the courtyard.
Did you know that Behavior said that RPD was the biggest map they've ever released at one point? I've run into a lot of people who've said this, and they're like, I did my own testing. Listen, RPD, the original map, was very cool. Believe me, Resident Evil is my favorite video game franchise. I loved that place. Gameplay-wise, it was a nightmare. It was not great. It was like all the things you love about the meatpacking plant, except big. So no. And I've seen this take, and I don't know where this take comes from besides just like wanting the map back because it's cool. But like, I don't know where this take comes from. That like, okay, we take the map, and we split it into 2 parts, but somehow it's bigger. Like I don't get it. Like It's a weird take. It's not the first time I've seen it, but it's like I feel like I get it. Like I said, whole map's cool, but like there's not a lot of like objective credence to bringing it back, unfortunately.
Yeah. Did it not used to have the courtyard?
It had the out front. I don't know if it had the back. It's been a while. I did that out so I don't look dumb.
Yeah.
Kidding.
Curry says Freddy with dream palettes is quite fun as it's funny to watch people throw it down. Think it's only because I like Freddy as a character, though I like to play as famous slashers. It's the same. Most of them are terrible. I agree. That's the whole reason I love playing Freddy. Dream palettes are fucking hilarious. There's nothing funnier than swinging through a pallet and watching a survivor drop it as the life leaves their eyes as they realize the mistake they've made. And it's also funny, like, when someone knows you have dream pallets and they just go around the map dropping the pallets. So you just hear psh, 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 and you turn around and you see their aura running across the map. It's hilarious. Not very viable, but it is funny.
I'm sorry, I'm staring at the one above it and I'm getting mad. I'm getting, like, pre-mad, pre-angry. Yeah, dream pallets are fun.
Okay, let's get to this one so you can fucking go off on one. I need a drink of water anyway. Xenomorph is an unbalanced killer with an unfun power to go against. 0 counterplay. You take this and I'll be right back in like 5 seconds.
There's so much counterplay to this character, and I guarantee you have not spent the amount of time and effort to actually learn it, and the fact that you're going to spread misinformation instead of learning is a toxic, unhealthy thing for this community, and you are making the community a worse place by doing it. Have you tried putting turrets as body blocks between tiles? Have you tried putting 2 turrets together? That way they confirm break the Xenomorph out of their power, even if they have the turret add-ons. Have you tried the stand in front of the turret tech, where you stand right in front of the turret and then walk away at the last second? That way even Lambert's star map does not do anything. If you're not doing these things, you have no right to complain, and for you to spread, oh, it had 0 counterplays, misinformation because you haven't put in the effort, you're hurting this community actively. So please stop.
I am going to, and I'm sure Bran will remind me when I let him know the video is scheduled for upload. I will leave Bran's Xeno guide in the description along with their links. So anybody who wants to actually learn how to play against this killer so that you don't sound how do I say this nicely? So that you don't sound uninformed, you can just read the fucking thing. There is an entire section in there about how to play against the killer. It's very well written, and it will be in the description.
We'll say, empathetic side here, very oppressive killer, very hard to counterplay against. But to throw your hands up and say, oh, there's zero, homie, some people don't even put this character in A tier. Like, this is a ridiculous take.
Yeah. Voltaire says, or Voltar, I never know which one, says, not entirely sure of how hot of a take this is, but Deadlock base kit. I know.
There's generally a problem with perk over reliance in the game in general. So I'd rather have us address that first before we start making more stuff like base kit.
Yeah, like there's so much. It's, God, the discourse around making certain perks base kit gets a little out of hand sometimes. And it's not necessarily that every idea is bad. It's that I don't think we're attacking core problems, and we're just trying to make stuff base kit to solve core issues that can be solved without doing that.
Yeah, because like Deadlock base kit would obliterate like a brand new team, like a brand new group of friends playing, just throwing back some cold ones with the buds. Deadlock base kit just murders that team, makes them hate the game. But absolutely extremely helpful for like 4-man sos who've been playing the game for a long time, bringing toolboxes prove. So like, once again, there's the aspect of like the 4-man bringing all this oppressive stuff that probably shouldn't be in the game. So implementing something that's base kit to counter those when those are the problem, it's we already have enough band-aid fixes in the game.
Yeah. So this one comes from King Dak, and this is actually, I think you made a video about this. I watch all your videos, and so I get lost on which ones you've done, but the ignorance of this game's community is partially to blame on behavior and their lackluster explanation of the game mechanics, particularly with killer powers that aren't as intuitive or simple as Greta Grippy Socks can... What the fuck is that name for the nurse, dude?
I don't know, but I love Grippy Socks.
Can blink through walls and floors. This makes her tired. Try to make distance while she's tired. Skull Merchant or Xenomorph are the prime examples of just decent or good killers that the player base set on a higher pedestal because their power in counterplay isn't as clear as Killer Go Fast or Use Your Eyes. Each killer should have a tutorial that explains the bare minimum of how they function and what to do. Yeah, no, I agree with all this. Like, I fully agree that the game's tutorial should walk you through the killers, but I think it should do it in like waves. I think like, cause like when you first start up the game, it forces you to play the tutorial before you can even attempt to play the game. So like, I don't want somebody locked into a fucking 3-hour tutorial because they gotta, you know what I mean? But like, I also think that there needs to be like an in-game like encyclopedia that you can read.
There is one, but it's very bare basics.
Yeah, it's not very good. Like I feel, and I'm not just saying this because I love the man, but I feel like they should get aughts to like find some round up some killer mains and just like write something to put into the game that people can be like, okay, how do I play against this killer? And then they just click on it and they can just read, you know, basic stuff. It doesn't have to be like an
that's
in-depth.
what he does. He has the character guides in his frequently asked questions, but he also has counterplay guides in there too. Like, he's essentially doing it himself.
Yeah, it just needs to be in the game, honestly.
I will say this in regards to what they said. You're right. I did make a video about this. It was mostly focusing on Ultimate Weapon because in the Unreal update where we decided when the mini nerfs we're going to throw through was Ultimate Weapon, it was really, really weird because we had normal Ultimate Weapon, and then we had Aura Ultimate Weapon, and then we had Ultimate Weapon with the wrong description, but Scream, and then we had the one we have now, which is the gutted version of the perk. So we had 4 different versions of Ultimate Weapon in the game. So that was the video I made about that. Which you can find on my channel if you don't subscribe to me. How dare you?
No, I agree. How dare you?
How dare you? But yeah, that and then like the pain res deadlock thing where like sometimes it goes through and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
Like patch to patch, it seems to just change. Like, oh yeah, if a gen's locked, pain res still hits it. Okay, now it does. Okay, now it doesn't. Yeah. It's like, what? Huh?
Yeah, it gets incredibly confusing sometimes. This one I made a video long ass time ago called "Is DBD too complicated?" and the answer was yes. And there were people in the comments section that were trying to argue with me that it wasn't. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, did you not just hear like the sheer amount of information you need to fucking learn? And they were like, yeah, but the core I was like, I'm not talking about the core gameplay being complicated, bro. I'm talking about like the game itself. Like, this game is confusing, man. You know what's crazy? I took that 3-month hiatus. I have no fucking clue how Sadako works. I have no fucking clue how that character works anymore. They've changed her so many goddamn times. She
TLDR. She's really good on like small indoor maps, and kind of like dog on outdoor big maps.
How about maybe says the removal of Chucky's 180 tech and Blight's hug tech were good. They made already very good killers more oppressive. I probably wouldn't mind Chucky's 180 now that Scamper is nerfed, but at the time I was fully on board with it because of how oppressive he was, and a lot of the time when the DBD community calls something a tech, it's a bug like 80% of the time. Okay, first off, every single fucking tech is an exploit of either a bug, the coding, the mechanics, or the engine. That is the definition of a tech. It is to exploit something unintended, because if it is intended, then it is a mechanic. If it is not intended, then it is a tech. So saying, oh, it's something a tech, it's actually a bug, that's what techs are. Second of all, while I agree that it's probably good to scale back the power of very powerful killers, I do not like that the answer to that is removing skill expression.
I think that, like, with the specific, many Chucky mains will tell you the 180 flicks were not actually really big skill expressions because it didn't leave a lot of the survivors like any like ability to do anything in response. Most Chucky mains will tell you, I'm cool with like going back to 100 or 120, but I don't want 180s back for that reason.
Yeah, I didn't play during the 180s, so that's up to you to mention. As far as
honestly, same thing with Blight. Like hug teching, if it was still in the game, I could load up and do it now, and I don't play the character. Like it's a huge exaggeration that hug teching was a super big skill expression. Yeah, you kind of had to know what loops you could slide off of and which you didn't. That's literally it. It was only bump, look down, slide. Like it's the biggest exaggeration ever to me.
Every time I tried it, I just re-bumped off the surface. So fuck you. I'm bad at the game. No, I'm just kidding. No, I agree. Here's the thing. Like it is skill expression. It's just not high skill expression. I don't know. Maybe I'm just salty about them removing Blight's hug tech because I hadn't perfected it yet and I was still working on it. But I like I said, I don't disagree with pulling back some powers. I just wonder like how much the power is being pulled back because like, as of now, Chucky's Slice and Dice feels really awkward to use, and I don't know if that's just a lack of skill on my part, but I hate using Chucky's Slice and Dice. I feel like I miss most of my Slice and Dices because they just step to the left.
I think I like it a lot, and it feels really good, which is funny because like Slice and Dices are kind of like the version of hug text that still exists in the game because he can slide off things using a Slice and Dice, and those feel super fun. I do think that if somebody vaults a window and just like hugs it and you try to go for like a scamper slice and dice through a window and stuff like that, he doesn't have much of an option. But I don't know. I think that's more of a subjective thing, so I don't think I can say that in any like opposition to something that somebody said.
Yeah, no, for sure. Salty as fuck says Anti-loop is bad for the game. Getting chased and chasing is fun, but having killers that make you basically can't win a chase is boring. Getting chased with the sole purpose of just trying to stall time is awful, which is why I hate going up against the majority of the most recent killers. I've got a fucking bombshell for you. The entire point of chases is to waste time. You are not supposed to be winning your 1v1s all the time. You are not supposed to be looping the killer for 5+ gens. That is, you are one person in a group of 4. For the love of God. Second of all, most anti-loop killers are not just lose for free. You just refuse to learn the telltale signs of how their powers work. Like, okay, Pyramid Head, for example, is an anti-loop killer. It's not that you can't basically win against the Pyramid Head, it's that you're not paying the fuck attention. You're just looping and you're all of a sudden you get hit by his M2 and you're like, what the fuck? I guess I can't do. A great example, we have the top 5 Xenomorph here. Xenomorph is an anti-loop killer. None of you fucking pay attention to when the tail attack's gonna happen, and then you get pissed off because you get hit by the fucking tail attack. Maybe if you, I don't know, tried, you would last a little bit longer. I don't know.
There was a video I reacted to on stream, and luckily I didn't put it on the YouTube because apparently they're in a copyright striking and stuff now. Of a fairly large creator making a video about why Xenomorph is like hated, and it was like just like 15 minutes of misinformation. Like, oh well, the hindered while the carrying a turret is 100%, and it was 35, not 100. There's no indicator for the tail attack. There's audio and visual, in addition to like normally what you would do against like Nemesis or something of trying to decide when it would be a good idea to use the power so you can dodge.
Yeah.
I
remember that video. Like everything he said was just so disingenuous, and I was like, oh, this is just disappointing. I was just disappointed, man. Like, dude, just like what? Like, why would you like just say blatantly wrong shit? My favorite part of that video was when he was saying there's no way to predict the tail attack, and then you pause the video and literally showed the frame animation of the tail attack happening.
Yeah.
Like right there.
Where it raises up, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god. But no, anti-loop is fine for the game. It's just anti-loop killers like Skull Merchant and Knight just feel really bad to play against because their counterplay is a little bit more, or the actual use of their power is a little bit more brainless. Although I'd say Knight is far better than Skull Merchant, because like you have to decide which Knight you're using at which time, because like not every
Knight
guard...
is more fun and more skill intensive, but not the better character.
Yeah. Skull Merchant is a little bit more brainless, and I think that's what you're more mad at is Skull Merchant and possibly current Chucky before Scamper gets taken away, than quote unquote recent killers and anti-looping. I think you're just more upset about the brainlessness of some of the more recent killers and not necessarily anti-looping itself. But I also don't know you. Maybe you just really do hate anti-looping in general.
I do want to say this with like, you know, most respect and not talking down to you, but like getting chased with the sole person of trying to stall time being awful means you don't understand what the game of Dead by Daylight is, because that's what you do. Like the whole point is like, I can't tell you how many times I'm leading a killer on a long chase, and my intentional choices are run away from where I know my teammates are working on the gens, run to a loop I know I can buy as much time as possible. I know I'm going to go down here, but I can see on the little survivor head that the gens are being worked on. So they got to get those gens done so we can actually leave. So like it just fundamentally shows like a misunderstanding of what the game is, which is unfortunate. Yeah,
and that's what I was saying in the beginning of this comment, is that like that's the big thing in this community, is that people take, because like a lot of people come from Apex, Valorant, League, Rainbow Six, all these games where you have the potential to carry your team because you have the potential to, you know, win all of your 1v1s, because that's the advice in all of these games. Like Apex especially, the big advice from coaches was don't ever try to 1v3, try to do 3 1v1s. And so when you come to Dead by Daylight, you still got that mentality of, oh, I'm on a team, but I should be able to 1v1 the killer and carry my team. I should have that power. But that's not how this game is balanced. It's balanced to be a 1v4. So the 4 of you are equivalent in power to the 1 of the killer. And the killer is 4 times as strong as 1 of the survivors for that reason. So yes, like Brand said, if you think that getting chased for the sole purposes of stalling time is awful, you just have a fundamental misunderstanding of how this game is supposed to be played. JMR's got really good artwork, by the way. I really enjoy it. Not
JRM, JMR.
Yeah, JMR draws. He's got really good artwork, by the way. Very, very talented. He's a VIP in my community. Says the Demogorgon is one of, if not the best M2 faker in the game, and I'm tired of pretending like it isn't getting special treatment in the community. People despise it when killers like Pyramid Head, Nemesis, Wesker, or any other M2 killer who all have staggers fake their power, but the Demogorgon has basically 0 stagger when canceling an M2 and get away with it. I have to think about that one for a second.
Usually the problem with this is that there's like a massive caveat to these other characters. Like Pyramid Head can hit through walls. Nemesis can break pallets and hit over objects. Wesker infects you and institutes built-in slowdown. Demogorgon just gets a hit.
Yeah. Because like other fake M2 characters would be
Me, Xenomorph.
Yeah, Xenomorph. Slinger gets a deep wound. So yeah, no, you're right. You're right about that. It's a. See, this is why I wanted to have you on here, because I knew something wasn't right. I just didn't know how to phrase it. But yeah,
well, this is not an uncommon feeling. A lot of people feel this way about Demogorgon. And honestly, before Stranger Things came back, people kind of turned on the character and were like, Demogorgon's so boring to loop. It's not an uncommon opinion. But like I said, it's just the reason that is because Demo only gets the hit and doesn't get anything extra off it like other M2 characters.
That's fair. The Raven says, going against Skull Merchant and the Legion is not that bad, not the most fun, but better than people say. The Legion is the single most boring killer in this fucking game, and I have yet to meet somebody, single most boring killer to play against in this game, and I have yet to meet anyone who can change my mind on that. I hate facing the Legion with every fucking fiber of my being. Oh, it's so boring. I'm so tired of mending all the goddamn time. I'm okay with Skull Merchant, though. I would be more okay with Skull Merchant if my teammates would stop fucking giving up on hooks.
It's so weird to be like, oh well, it's not that bad. It's just like a totally subjective thing, right?
Yeah.
Like I love going against the Xenomorph, but that's because I know him like the back of my hand. I know everything to do against the character. I don't have to learn it. So like I love facing them. Most people don't because they're extremely oppressive and like really good.
Yeah.
And that's fair. Like both are valid. So I don't know. It's just a lot of it comes down to subjective.
Yeah.
I think the problem is just claiming it's like, oh, whether objectively a problem or they're objectively not a problem based on your feelings about it.
Yeah. I think if you're gonna make statements like this, you kind of have to have like a follow-up, like some pre-counter arguments to common things you've heard. Otherwise it just seems like you're just like, well, my opinion's right and your opinion's wrong, and it feels really weird to like, you know what I mean? Like it feels weird to read.
You're not allowed to have subjective feelings, positively or negatively. Wrong.
The entity. Oh shit, we're fucked. Says gen perks both for killer and survivor and crutches. What?
And crutches? Man, they put me on crutches. Broke my legs.
Yeah, I'm okay. We'll come back to that sentence. For some killers that require setup, it makes sense, but for the most part, your chase pressure should be enough to keep... Oh, they meant are crutches. Gen perks for both survivor and killer are crutches. Okay, I see what they're saying now. For some
they're strategically tied.
Yeah. For some killers that require setup, it makes sense, but for the most part, your chase pressure should be enough to keep survivors busy. Same applies with survivors too. If you need your gens to last 40 seconds with stuff like Hyperfoe, you are not good at the game. I am going to, I have a video in my head. I read a comment similar to this earlier on another video. I think that I am kind of exhausted of people saying, if you use this perk, you are not good at the game, because part of the skill expression of the game is understanding which perks are viable and using those perks to the best of their abilities. And like, sure, you can argue some perks don't need any like knowledge to know that they're good, or need any quote unquote skill expression to be good. Like, for example, live, light, love. You know what I mean? Like, I get that. But at the same time, it is skill expression, and it does require a knowledge of the game to know which perks are good enough to be used. And the reason I can argue that is because if you listen to this community, they will consistently and relentlessly tell you that shit perks are actually secretly good because they are useful in like 0.00001% of scenarios. And that is incredibly frustrating. So I would argue that part of the skill expression of this game, part of the game sense, is knowing which perks are good. And therefore, just because you use a perk, it doesn't automatically make you bad. If you're over-reliant on the perk, sure, maybe you can make an argument for that. But just using a perk, dude, it's a good perk. People want to win. They're just going to use the fucking thing. Like, that doesn't make them bad at the video game. It's frustrating to read.
Okay, 3 things. If you're one of those people that's like, oh my gosh, Whisper's still good in 2024, you're a pick-me, please stop. You get it, you're cool, you're awesome, lovely. Do you want a pat on the back? Do you want a cookie? I don't know. Anyways. Second, these are 2 sides of the same coin, right? Like, Gen Rush and Gen Slowdown go hand in hand. They are the same coin, but they're heads and tails. One delays the game from being done too quickly. One gets the game done quicker. They're tied to each other. So it's not yes and no. I will validate you by saying, yeah, most people don't know how to play the game well. They don't know how to loop well. Speaking of buying time looping guy over there. Yeah, most of the game's strength comes down to who can buy enough time for the gens to get done. People try to circumvent this by bringing perks that just do the thing faster instead of relying on actually getting good at the things that buy time naturally base kit. And we've seen that a lot in the Chaos Shuffle, is a lot of people went into Chaos Shuffle and just folded because they don't have the perks to win the game for them, and they're like, oh my god, this game mode's so sweaty, and it's like, I think a lot of it's a self-tell. But what are you gonna do in like the normal game mode? Like, you just gonna let the guys bring a bunch of gen rush perks and no slowdown and just like let them body you every single game and have a bad time? Like, no, you're gonna bring some insurance, right? You're gonna bring some insurance. That's why, like, even on the main mode, I bring 2 slowdown always, because like I would say like 8 times out of 10 I don't really need it, but there are those gamer squads I run into every once in a while, dude, that I'm like, I'm so fortunate I brought them.
Dude, I play full or reading Huntress, and I'd say probably like every 5 to 6 games for me, I just am like, God, I wish I would have brought like Deadlocked or something, like it's just like one slowdown, because it's like, oh man, this is a pretty fun chase. Bong, bong, bong. Oh yeah, that does happen, doesn't it?
So it's just about being prepared.
Yeah,
that's all.
For sure. Gremlin says, Ghostface is miserable to face. The stealth and insta-down make it easy for them to just proxy camp and tunnel, and even when you're looking at for them, you're almost always too late to see them before they attack or expose you. And although the reveal mechanic is generally buggy in a way that goes against Ghostface, I've had several games going against Ghostface when it just wouldn't let me reveal them when I'm not looking right at them. I think the part you're missing here is that they're just an M1 killer, man. Like, even with the insta-down, like, this is why they're not higher than C tier, and I get, like, the point wasn't Ghostface is too strong, the point was Ghostface is miserable to face, and I can't tell you how to feel on that, right? I can't, like we've been talking about for a couple of comments now, I'm not going to argue with you on your subjective view of it. I want to make sure that you understand that Ghostface is just an M1 killer, and I have seen multiple people, including myself, just outrun him for the 60-second insta-down because he's just an M1 killer, and he suffers inherently from what all M1 killers suffer from: safe pallets, long loops, shack, stuff like that. So that's just something to keep in mind, but I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong if you don't like going against him, because at the end of the day, that's just, I don't mind going against him. I think it's fun, even as somebody who's deaf. But yeah.
Okay. Gremlin WC899677877 cash now. Come sit by the fire. I'm going to tell you something that's going to make your life very easy. A lot nicer against Ghostface. The camera, when it comes to revealing the Ghostface, is actually displaced. The target you have to hit is in the middle to top left, not actually the center of the screen. Why it's that way, I don't know. It shouldn't be that way, but it is. But if you think about your screen in 4 quadrants, like you got the vertical line, the horizontal line, aim in the middle of that square to the top left, and it's going to be a lot more consistent.
Wait, does it actually draw LOS from that part of the camera?
Yep, it's really dumb.
Dude, no fucking wonder people can't reveal this motherfucker. No wonder I'm getting revealed from behind walls and shit constantly.
Yeah, it's not so... the dead center of the screen. It's really weird.
Oh my
It's like
God.
Up and to the left slightly. It's odd.
Dude, that's why. So, like, because when I made my Ghostface video, I was like, for some reason, whenever I'm playing against Ghostface, I can't reveal him while I'm staring at him for the entire length of the Avengers Endgame. But when I am playing as Ghostface, survivors can reveal me from behind 6 walls and across from the next trial over. And it's just like, I was like, how the fuck does this? Oh my God, that's so. Why is it like that? Oh
I don't know. It's slightly off center. So, like, what's happening is he's going in and out of, like, that top left center that's kind of close to the center, but not really. So you're kind of only catching him, sort of, and going in and out of it.
That is... Everything I learn about this killer's reveal mechanic makes me hate it more and more.
He's just kind of broken.
Yeah.
not in a busted way, like, oh, he's so good, but, like, he's so janky.
Yeah. Stabiffle from Alex. Stabiffle deserved its nerf. This probably should have happened a long time ago when the hit cooldowns were reduced. Although I will miss trying to force basic attacks against M2 killers when on the Obsession. It was fun. I think if you wanted to nerf Stabiffle, making M2 procs take away stacks was the wrong way. I think you just should have nerfed the numbers. I think the percentages should have been nerfed, because like you can lose stacks as Pinhead from just chaining a survivor, or if Artist Crows just swarmed the survivor, you lose stacks. Why? Like, don't get me wrong, you shouldn't really be using Stabiffle on Artist, but if I'm not outright damaging you, I don't see why I should be losing stacks. So like all it needed was a numbers decrease if you were going to nerf it. I don't agree with its nerf, but if you were going to nerf it, all it needed was a numbers decrease.
It's crap stacks and call it a day. You didn't have to like rework the entire perk.
Yeah, exactly. 2 hot takes. We'll only be reading one, Mr. or Mrs. or...
Yeah, you don't get to hog up the time, nerd. Why are you so special you get to have 2?
Mr. ZZ. 1, fixing solo queue to be on the same level as Swift is impossible. I 100% agree. If you add voice chat, I feel like most people would hate it or might make toxicity
just
worse.
To be mean.
Yeah, exactly. Also, doesn't help the MMR has been a bit broken for a while, and punishing Swifts that I've seen, some people suggest won't fix it either, since it's unfair to Swifts that want to have fun, and no one wants to get punished for playing with their friends. I agree, fixing solo queue to be on the same level as Swift is impossible, but not for the reasons you think, although some of these reasons are accurate. It is because every single person in solo queue has a different idea of how to play the video game, and no amount of communication and information and all of this shit is going to change that. While you might think cocksucker XX Reaper over here needs to go for the save instead of you, you know, Cox XX Reaper over here thinks that you need to be going for the save. And whether one of the other of you is right is irrelevant, because both of you have a different idea about who should be doing what, and because of that alone, you'll never be on the same level as Swift. But yes, everything else you said is correct. If voice chat ever comes to this game, I will mute that shit and never turn it back on.
That's why I did on Friday.
Yeah.
That's why I did in Siege.
Yeah. Yeah, it's every single game that has voice chat, while probably necessary in most of them, is terrible, dude. I mute all of that shit. I don't want to deal with that crap, man.
Also, I'm not coming for you, Mr. ZZ10398. I don't know. Nobody knows what their MMR is.
Yeah. And
nobody, unless you're a hacker or a dev, you can't check MMR. So anything that you say, like, the MMR is like this, is just feelings. I can say I'm probably high MMR because I lost 1 game today in 6 hours, and that happens pretty consistently. That's not a brag. That's just how it is. But like, I don't know for sure, so I just don't say it.
I feel like MMR is broken, but not in like. I think it's broken because the way that it is
like backfill and stuff like that being a little too lenient and the brackets being too wide.
Also,
and stuff like that.
Also calculations are pretty fucking based off like dumb shit. The way that Survivor MMR is calculated is really bad.
Bro, all these survivors are smurfing to get better content. These survivors are going for flashlight saves and flashbangs for content, getting caught, dying, and lowering their MMR. It's by design of behavior. They're not smurfing. Please stop saying this, please.
Oh my god, dude. Yeah, so like that in that case, and then like sometimes you can like one time, like I'm a almost 1700 hour player, and one time I went against a 4-man team who between the 4 of them total had less than 300 hours in the game. I'm fairly certain I felt like I was stomping on kindergartners. So I'm sure the MMR system doesn't work, but I don't think it doesn't work for the reasons a lot of people think that it doesn't work. Like you said, the backfill is pretty bad, and then like you know what I don't know? I don't know if this has ever been said. How the fuck does MMR get calculated when you have one survivor who's, I don't know, A run, and then you have another survivor Swift with A run who's got like 2 hours in the game? Like how the fuck does the system calculate who they should be facing?
Supposedly, according to hacking leaks, it's an average of everybody in the lobby.
Interesting.
Supposedly. Yeah. This is from the bed of hackers, the bedrock of people who make this game miserable.
I would love for behavior to just be a little bit open with us on this shit. Original name 3796 says, I honestly preferred the old wiggle system to the new one. I didn't play with that. I guess it just felt right to wiggle my joystick to wiggle out of the killer's grasp. The skill checks don't feel as engaging in my opinion. I wish they had just made it a toggle where you can choose which wiggling method you wanted to use. How did it work on PC?
You mashed. You mashed button. Which was very rough on your keyboard, and for people that had any sort of issue with being able to do that, it's been not great. It's an accessibility problem. But yeah, it could have just been a toggle, man. Put it on the accessibility tab and call it a day.
It actually sounds more fun. I mean, my keyboard would probably break because I've got a $20 fucking keyboard and it's already broken. But
there was a very like satisfying thing about watching like a very, very salty Survivor streamer that just cries all the time. Just you hear just in the background and them going, "I'm giving up," in silence.
Evan says that Trapper shouldn't be caught in his own traps. I disagree. I think it's really funny that Trapper can get caught in his own traps.
Trapper's issue is that Trapper needs like 5 of his add-ons to be a moderately good killer, and he can only bring 2.
Yeah. Trapper's issue is he has to travel across the map to pick up all of his traps. His issue is that once he gets all of his traps, if one of them ends up in a dead zone, he has to go back to that place to get all of his traps. If he runs out of his traps and all of them are in a dead zone, then he just has no power, I guess. His traps are way too easily fucking spot. Like, Trapper's issues are like 3 pages long, and almost none of those pages include that he can be caught in his own traps.
Yeah, Trapper needs to just have like half his on base kit, and then half of them get reworked.
Yeah. Oh man, there was a glitch a while back that made it to where Huntress's Lullaby kept its the perk kept its effect when the totem was cleansed, but you were no longer able to gain stacks. That should be a base feature of the perk. I agree. But I want to add a caveat because I don't think a lot of people know this because nobody fucking runs this perk. There is a part of the hex, and this is why it lights up in the beginning, by the way. I didn't know this, but there is a part of the hex that says that missed skill checks incur an additional 6% penalty. If you cleanse the totem, that should go away. But the effect of the stacks being kept should stay, because then the perk is just countered by paying the fuck attention.
Yeah, it's really just an anti-streamer perk. and then the wow, guys, I'm not a crazy 4 slowdown killer. I'm Doctor, and I'm running Huntresses. Shut up. You get it. You're running the same fucking build every single game on this character. Thank you.
Okay, I have fun with that build. It is funny. Although my totem...
Oh, it's you.
Yes, I'm the asshole.
They're in the room with me right now.
Yeah, no, it's one time on the Reddit, I read a comment where somebody was like, I don't even pay attention when doing gens. I just wait for the skill check sound, and then I look over from my second monitor, and I was like, wow, Hunter's Lullaby must really kick your ass off. The fake Bonnet, I wonder who this guy is. MMR is not an issue. Player
Hey. Talk lower. They're closer to the floor. They're Chucky, man.
MMR is not an issue. Player mentality is nothing is forcing to bring meta every match. If your goal is to win, more power to you, but it's to have fun, then it shouldn't matter. If you are relying on what your opponent does or doesn't bring due, then you are already fighting a losing battle with trying to enjoy any game. Here's my thing. I agree. Goated opinion, but I do not like the concept that if someone is playing to win, they aren't playing to have fun. I find winning fun. So I am playing to have fun, but I'm also playing to win. Also, a flip side to this, like an interesting conversation this opens up, is people who are like, oh my God, why can't killers just have fun? And they only ask that when they lost. I don't know. Why can't you just have fun if winning isn't such a big deal to you, then why are you mad you lost? I don't know.
Exactly. The people that complain the most about wanting balance are the ones that wish the game was casual, which if the game was casual to you, you wouldn't take losses so hard.
Yeah, exactly. I had an argument with somebody in my comment section about this earlier today where they were like, Oh man, you know, it's not fun because I want to play casually and I keep getting my ass kicked. And like, I get it. It's not fun to lose quickly or get steamrolled. Like that's always been my bigger problem. And it's something I've never been able to articulate well is when I get mad at losing, I'm not mad that I lost. I'm mad that I got my ass handed to me. You know what I mean? Like if I get fucking 4-man outed in like 6 minutes, then I get really irritated. But if I get 4-man outed in like 12 minutes, then it's a little bit easier to handle. And I actually will be like, it was frustrating, but it was fun. But like, my thing is that if you're going to approach this game casually and say, oh, you just shouldn't care about winning, then you need to take your own advice, in my opinion. And stop getting fucking pissed off when the other side plays to win.
If the game is casual, the game is casual. If you say I'm a casual gamer and that's like part of my my constitution of playing the video games, since we're gonna bring up the social contract, let's bring up the constitution. Let's get all the documents in here. Like if you label yourself as a casual gamer and that's part of your Bill of Rights there, then like be a casual gamer and stop caring so much about when somebody brings 3 slowdown and having a bad time.
Yeah, exactly. Solo Yapper says exhaustion haste perks are the #1 reason why all M1 killers are weak, and exhaustion should be nerfed since matches time goes as well as gen time. It's unfair for the killer to face haste exhaustion perks, and survivor only needs to hold W, fall by any means, or vault a window, then the survivor who vroom. Meanwhile, the killer is having to caught up with them. So couple of things. #1, I don't know if I'm just using exhaustion perks wrong, but every time I do, I look behind me and the killer is on my ass in like 2 seconds. So I don't know what the fuck I'm doing wrong. But second of all, M1 killers have a lot more problems than exhaustion perks. Yeah. Exhaustion perks are a problem, but they're not the consistent problem. The consistent problem is way too many fucking pallets, way too many safe pallets to be exact. Way too many safe windows, way too many safe loops, way too many maps that take forever to traverse because the M1 killer doesn't have the ability to traverse that map. Exhaustion perks are a problem, but they are the least of M1 killers' problems. They are the least consistent problem, at least in my opinion.
Exhaustion perks are just been meta since the beginning of like the dawn of time, like literally the Stone Ages. We were clapping rocks to make fire and we were running sprint bursts. It's just been there for so long and it's been the meta for so long that I just want to get gotten rid of for that reason. But yeah, it's like way more complex. It's like map issues and power creep from other characters who can just handle everything so much better as well. Yeah, it's like that pirate mood. Yes, but also no.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, I just think there are bigger issues on the plate, but maybe at some point we need to do a video on exhaustion perks and see if we can dissect the problem. Brawlatron says windows of opportunity and Zinshin tactics should both be some form of base kit, maybe only 16 meters instead of the full 32. Someone getting into the game nowadays shouldn't be expected to learn 50 some maps with all the random gen stuff that comes with them, plus any buffs to ore reading or indirect buffs to blindness. So let's be real, it's the weakest status effect by far. I agree with that last sentence. I don't know about the rest of you, but I really fucking hate running windows of opportunity and Zinshin tactics because all the ore reading overloads my senses. I hate it, man. I run it because I need it because I'm bad and I need to know where I need to go next, but I don't like it necessarily, and I wouldn't like it forced on me either. But that's just me.
What is the problem with learning the game? Question mark. This is like the thing. This is like the same thing we're talking about. Like, I'm a casual gamer, but I don't want to learn anything. Like, I hate having to learn 50 maps. Then don't. Who cares?
I think honestly,
be confused and weird out.
Here's my thing. In my opinion, instead of that shit, why don't we just allow a free roam mode that is custom, that people can just load in without having to drag some poor killer along to load in on Wraith and stand in the corner while you explore the map? How about we just do that?
This wouldn't fucking melt the game, but I have had an idea since I first started playing that I thought was the best idea ever, and I'm going to copyright it, so you can't sue me, or you can't take it from me. That when you load up into like you queue for a match, it loads the whole map, but it's like a we can't interact mode, and you can just like run around the map until the trial begins, until it fully loads in.
God, that would be sick.
You could run it like you load into Sanctum. You could run around the main building. You could run over to Pagoda, and then the match would start in its proper form, and it would be like the actual map you were playing on, but it was just like an example map. Just something like that would be fun. That way you can go say hi, boop your friends. Maybe you can boop the killer. Who knows?
Yeah, that would be cool. Mr. Draconator. It sounds like a villain name from you remember that what was that show called? Venture Bros? Did you watch that?
Yes.
That sounds like a villain name from Venture Bros, doesn't it? The add-on system for killers is nothing but harmful to the game. Holy shit, dude. My man is burning the food right here and should be overhauled. Currently, add-ons allow the devs to make killers with terrible base kits. Killers should only have 5 to 6 add-ons, only be able to equip one, with each one changing their playstyle rather than just buffing them. That is...
The last bit of that, I understand making add-ons more dynamic and more fun rather than just percentile adjustments.
Right.
I like that.
I did an entire video on that one. I agree with that, but like the rest of it is wild, dude.
I feel like some people want to play a different game and just... I was talking about this today. It's like, it's kind of the curse of live service games, is like, because it's a live service game, we're under the assumption that like we can change everything. So we get these really out there ideas that should ideally probably be a completely different game. And we try to just like, shove it in there. Like we're like a kindergartner trying to take the circle and putting it in the square hole, and it won't fucking work.
Yeah,
it's like that.
Yeah, it does sound like sometimes I'll like hear people like who played TCM bring over ideas from TCM and be like, oh, behavior should do this. Like the whole like survivors should have their own like passive abilities thing. That's just a whole different ball game. Like I don't think you guys realize how like what is there like fucking like 38 survivors, 36 survivors, something like that.
There's a lot. You
want all of them to have a unique passive ability in a game where the core gameplay only allows for like so much. Oh my god, dude. Like
you're already mad that you're getting like 4 Sables and 4 Fung Means.
Yeah.
Like, wow, they're so toxic because I played a specific character. You don't want that, trust me.
Yeah. It would be it'd be so bad. Yeo Foxion. I saw this one.
I love them.
Oppression is not nearly as bad of a gen regression perk as people say, but it could honestly be buffed to either. Yeah, it's fucking terrible. Regress 4, 5. So they're saying either of these changes. Regress 4, 5, however many more gens with 1 proc to better match the 80-second cooldown. I think the 80-second cooldown could work if the effect was stronger, since it would have decent synergy with Trail of Torment despite the cooldown differences, or allow oppression to be used in conjunction with other gen kick perks. The 80-second cooldown would make it harder to use in conjunction with Pop Goes the Weasel, but could work well with Collarbrine or Overcharge. Neither of those are the answer. The answer is to just reduce the cooldown to 60 seconds.
Yeah. Just reduce the cooldown. It's
okay. just reduce the cooldown to 60 seconds. That's all. We don't need to go on a fucking adventure to find the solution. It's
reinventing the wheel, as they say.
Yeah. Just move it down to 60 seconds and it would actually be like a mid-tier decent perk. Flip-flop being anti-slug should be base kit like adrenaline on hook as anti-camp.
Okay, hear me out. Your mom should be base kit. Got him. Everything's base kit. Fuck it, make the kitchen sink base kit. We spawn with helicopter rotors on our back. We can just fly across the map. I don't know. Everything's base kit now. I don't think making everything in the world base kit is the answer to fixing Dead by Daylight, but it's just like the immediate go-to.
Fuck me, dude. That was so funny. I don't think I have anything to add. That was just that was great, man.
Flip it, ship it.
Lord Blue, in my opinion, hold on. Oh my god. In my opinion, Oni is just way more fun and better than Billy. better? Better as in power level or better as in fun factor? The fact is Hillbilly's hitbox is garbage. His chainsaw feels sluggish. He needs to worry about twigs and walls. He gets screwed by crouch tech. He can't flick after your initial chainsaw sprint out of the... Okay.
Yeah, I can. That's
It's a very, very small window, and it's very, very hard to pull off, and very, very annoying.
But you can?
You can. I will give you that. You can. If your name is Uncle Stan Banana, you can.
Can you tell somebody in this room was formerly a Billy Maid and somebody was also formerly a Billy Maid?
So here's the thing. I agree that Hillbilly's hitbox is absolute fucking garbage. It's the reason I don't fucking play him anymore. But when you say better than Hillbilly, if you mean fun factor, I'm not going to argue with you on that. That's a subjective opinion. If you mean power level, you are smoking crack. Billy is the fourth best character in the game, only held back by his map dependency. If he could navigate tight spaces better, he would be an S tier killer without a second thought.
Okay, Kaiser. So we have one character who can go really, really fast and down people and has a lot of slug potential because they can down people and run very, very fast. Then we have the other character who can down people and run very, very fast and slug people and get a lot of snowball pressure. One of these can do it all the time, and one of them cannot. Who's the better character?
I love we need to do this more often because I'll give like long explanations and then Bran is like, let me make this simple for you guys.
Like if there's something here that is like, you know, I like the ghost face thing. It's like, yeah, you didn't know that. And the game doesn't tell you, and quite frankly, it's something that's probably just bugged, so it's not supposed to work that way. Yeah, I'm like, yeah, this is the way it is. But if somebody's just like, oh yeah, hot take, I'm like, nah, your mom's a hot take. I don't know, that's not right.
Oh, this is great, man. This is great. Somebody once told me
the world was gonna roll me.
Yeah, exactly. And it was true. This world has bent me over and fucked me multiple times, and I have yelled the safe word and it has not stopped. Somebody once told me that you and I have great chemistry, and I think I see what they mean. Because like I go,
yeah, we were in chemistry class. My homework, son of a bitch.
Crackhead. That's the only part of this name I fucking saw. Says second chance perks should be removed from both survivor and killer. More removing shit from the game, I guess. Examples being Dead Hard and No-Ed. Those two are not on near the same level, my friend.
Not anymore.
These perks promote bad gameplay by rewarding poor play. Both sides have to have these bad play moments which are protected by these perks. With Dead Hard, getting a third hit with everything that survivors have to extend to chase can and does cause killers to lose games or lots of pressure. I think Dead Hard's in a very balanced state right now. No-Ed is just objectively a poorly designed perk. The whole point of the chase is the 2 hits the survivors have. This perk removes it, which allows the game to completely go in the other direction no matter how well the survivors played. I can tell you right now, the reason games most of the time go in the other direction with No-Ed is because the motherfuckers either won't just leave or they won't cleanse the No-Ed first. So they start swarming the hook like moths and just go down for free because of No-Ed and then complain about No-Ed. No-Ed is it's not weak, but it is not strong and it's not problematic. It is perfectly fine where it's at. It's
I do match reviews, tell people get more consistent game of Dead by Daylight to play better. And I don't recommend either of these perks to them for the very reasons they're talking about. Is because they are mistake erasers. That is kind of their function in the game. But it's not necessarily a bad thing. It does hinder your ability to grow. But once again, as we've talked about, it's a party game and it's a casual game, so not everything you do needs to be like the most skill intensive thing in the universe. I just think if you want to actually get better, you care about getting better, yeah, you probably shouldn't use these perks. But
yeah, and the thing is like most of the time, like once you get over that like that initial orgasm that new killers get of using No-Ed, most of the time you only use No-Ed when you're dedicating an entire in-game build to it. Because it's funny.
It's like a bell curve. Like you're like, no, it's great, and you're like, actually, I can win the game without relying on perks. And then you're like, oh, well, now I'm win streaking.
Yeah, exactly, bro. Yeah, no, they're fine. Second chance perks are fine. They should exist in the game. They have a place in the game. Are they annoying? Sure, but most of them are balanced and fine.
I'm annoying to people like me.
Yeah. Lusitano says people are overhyping 2v8. It's not going to be that good. People will shit on behavior for it afterwards and just go play regular 1v4. So here's the interesting thing. I agree with you, but a lot of people, I found out, and I think you were one of them, a lot of people felt this way about Chaos Shuffle, and it turned out to be one of the best things. It turned out to be one of the best things we ever had. So I am not excited for 2v8, but it might be fun. Brandon and I are probably going to do a few games of 2v8 when it comes out. So, hey, it might be fucking super fucking fun, and we're just, you and I are wrong. But I agree with you for now.
Two siblings fighting over the controller to play Billy.
Oh man. So yeah, we might be wrong. I do think that I'm a little just a tad annoyed that they're only releasing the original 5 killers with it. They said it's an evolving thing, so they're gonna like add more later on. But I think you made, I think it was you that made this point. Sometimes it feels like I'm buying DLC for no reason because they keep locking me out of my fucking characters and game modes.
Like Chaos Shuffle is the only game I've been able to play Xenomorph, and I'm like, this is like my whole thing. This is what makes me happy. Like half the game was like I can't play them, so
yeah, like because we got locked out of it in your little Oni. We're getting locked out of it in 2v8. Did they lock it out in Lights Out?
No. That's why it's half.
Yeah, no, it's one.
But of those... motion sensors made it fucking useless anyway.
Oh man. Sussman says indoor maps aren't nearly as bad as people claim they are.
True.
But like, what do you mean? Like, this is another one of those where it's just kind of like, it's just one sentence, and like, I would like some clarifiers to like go with the discussion.
No, period. Period. First off, check your punctuation. But period.
The fucking teacher is telling you guys to fix your grammar on fucking the internet, by the way. So like I agree because I am as a certified card carrying member of the fuck indoor maps club. I think we need another indoor map. I want a 3-story indoor map, like a true 3-story indoor map. I want a big ass fucking 3-story manor as an indoor map because I think it would be fucking cool. And I think the main problem that people have with indoor maps, again, as a card carrying certified member of fuck indoor maps, is that a lot of them are just over reliant on palettes and palettes. Like Lyris, for example, I say this all the time. You know what I hate about Lyris? It's got 50 billion safe windows and then 50 billion safe palettes on top of that. Like, we don't need both. Just make Lyris the Gideons for Windows, where it's just nothing but windows and it's got like 2 palettes. Then I'd be happy. I wouldn't be happy, but I'd be happy. You know what I mean?
I'm Sussman33210 500. I maybe it's because I'm Xenomorph and the Larry's is great for Xenomorph, but I'm just kind of like, Midwich is my favorite map as well in the game. I've never got it, so I have a Urk Killer. Everybody's like, yeah, and more maps, terrible. And I'm like, but they're cool looking. They're very moody and aesthetic.
yeah. The claustrophobia of them is really, really fun. Like,
it feels like I'm in a horror game.
yeah, no, for real. Doki Doki Literature Club.
Yep.
Nurse is fine for DBD. The only way she breaks the game is during a chase. If you stealth against a nurse, she can't chase and down you. Breaking line of sight puts more pressure on the nurse to make the correct play. Just hide, idiot. Having good distancing routing will allow you to outrun the nurse and overshoot your position. This is a form of counterplay that isn't just dropping a pallet. Nurse is the best example of what a team overcoming extreme odds looks like. It's a 4v1, not a 1v1 for win. Okay, so your last sentence is accurate, but like your entire justification for Nurse is fine for DBD is just listing her counterplay. And while I don't disagree, I feel like, and I mentioned this in a video I did a long time ago. I'm sad I didn't bring it up in the Nurse analysis because I forgot about it. But Nurse is not punished for her mistakes enough. She makes a mistake, she misses a swing, and then she is instantly right back on your ass, and all the distance you gained is meaningless. And because of that, Nurse needs more to punish her for her mistakes. And that's the problem with Nurse.
I'm going to take you, Doki Doki. I'm going to put you in a coliseum with like a comp nurse, and I'm just going to say hide. And just watch and see what happens.
Oh, every nurse, if you see a nurse kick a gen, she has no way out or nowhere to hide.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's if you see a nurse kick a gen one time, she has nowhere to hide.
Do you want to? Okay, educational time. You know what? A lot of comp players say to do against the nurse? Loop a small object.
Yeah.
It just really messes with their ability to blink correctly.
Yeah, it really does. Dude, the blink is so... Dude, oh my god. I have a clip in I think my most recent DBD shenanigans, where I was on Greenville, and I looked up to blink to the generator, and somehow I went down. That blink can be so fucking aggravating to work with sometimes.
I think it's so funny that this comment exists when it's nurse doesn't break the game. Okay, like let's take you, put Trapper, put them side by side, and tell them that this is not in any way affecting their ability to balance for this other character.
Yeah, nurse plays on a completely different level than every other killer in the game because she ignores the core fundamentals of how this game works. Even with her counterparts in S tier, which is Blight and Spirit, who both also have their own way of breaking the rules of the game, they don't do it as bad as she does. Because if you outloop a Blight and he misses a swing, then his tokens take a while to come back, and you can actually get some distance. And you can stop his rushes with pallets and safe windows, correct vaulting windows. With Spirit, it's a little bit harder to do for me because I can't fucking hear the bitch, but you can do things like stand still, and pallets and windows are still an asset against her. But against the nurse, who cares if you've got a pallet? Who cares if you've got a window? Who cares if you have a North American country mile between you and her? The bitch is gonna blink through 87 fucking walls and be on your ass. It doesn't matter if she misses. She gets her power back in an instant.
We're just gonna get a new rule from here on. If your hot take starts with, well, actually, most of the community is just bad, we're just skipping it.
Yeah.
Kidding, but that's what a majority of these often are.
Yeah. Okay, so the DBD, is that what you're talking about with the Emmett loves?
I haven't even read it yet. Does it fit?
Let's find out. The DBD community is an unfortunate system of one side hating and spitting against the other simply because behavior does not know how to make their game do... Oh my fucking god. I hate... The professional game devs do not know how to make their game... I hate that take. Here's the thing. Balancing a game is reactionary instead of proactive. That's only the half-truth. I think they do a lot...
Ideas. Design philosophy, but also react to things that were missteps.
Yeah, like you have to have some reactionary balancing because it turns out that behavior are not supercomputers with crystal balls that can predict the future. And they're going to make mistakes. And so sometimes when they make mistakes, they need to go back and redo it. But they are proactive. Look at Vecna, dude. Like I have been known in the past like month or two to have very big criticisms about behavior playing things too safe. Chapter 32, that's where we're on, right? Chapter 32.
Something like that, I don't know.
I think so. Chapter 32, Vecna's chapter is the most creative, proactive, and unsafe thing they have ever done. It is very, 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 very good. So I think this is another example of you just looking at the negative without recognizing the positive. But saying that it's behavior's fault because that the community is so volatile to each other, that's not it. It is 100% on the community for just not understanding the basic fundamentals of the game and wanting free wins. I said this before and I'll say it again. This is the only community who cries because the other side does not let them win for free. And that cannot be put on the devs, dude. That is all their fucking fault. That is all this community's fault, dude. That is the entire basis of the tribalism. They think it's toxic because somebody is trying to play the game to win. That's not behavior, man. You just can't put that on them.
Listen, I'll be the first one. They'll be like, wake up, samurai. We got corpos to take down. But like, that's such a complex thing. Like it's so much more multifaceted than that. It's just it's a side v side thing in every game like that has that sort of situation. Like even like at MOBAs, like different. Like, oh well, the jungler's just messing around. He's not helping, or the support's not putting out enough help.
Yeah.
Or, like it's like there's just stigmas and tribalism among any separated group in a game that has to face off. That's just how it is.
Yeah. This one is interesting because you and I hold vastly different opinions on this one.
Oh no, I see RPD, brother.
Yeah, this is from Prometheus. You and I are well acquainted.
I
with
love
them.
Prometheus.
Prometheus is
they're Menace now.
Is a good yeah. They're now Midnight Menace.
The artist formerly known as Prometheus.
RPD is a heavily survivor-sided map, especially West Wing. Most loops are safe, and the trash palettes are niche areas. M2 killers can circumvent this map most of the time, but M1 killers need most pallets gone to get decent chases in. I fully agree with this. You and I had a discussion with this on your stream. Well, discussion. I was in the chat. But even with a lot of your tips, I still find myself losing most of my RPD games. I just don't see the killer sided part of it that you see. I seriously don't. I get so much of my time wasted on that map constantly.
A lot of it lies in the macro game of utilizing the main hall and the eye shape of the map to lock down the ability to pressure later on. And the macro game is extremely difficult, I think.
Do you think the discrepancy between us is just a lack of, like, that's one of the maps where you have to play it in a very specific way?
Yeah, it's like eye-shaped maps in general in Dead by Daylight, so including like Sanctum of Wrath, Azeroth's Resting Place, Suffocation Pit 1. The map's split through a choke point into two separate areas. The smart thing to do is to let go one area and focus on the other half and prevent the middle gens from getting done in the choke point. That's just kind of the way to win those. But you can win without them, but it's way more difficult. Way more difficult. Because, like, you'll end up in situations where, for example, on, like, Azeroth's Resting Place, which, by the way, is the top 3 size map in the game at 176 square tiles, you'll end up with one gen all the way up by the office, and then, like, 2 gens all the way back by the shack on the complete opposite side of the map. And unless you're, like, Xenomorph or Blight, like, good luck. Even those characters would have trouble holding that down. So, have to? No, but that would rely on the survivors making a mistake. You should ideally always be playing that way on these maps.
Yeah.
But when you do that, it's extremely effective.
Yeah, and it's probably also more boring because it sounds almost similar to locking a 3-gen down, which is probably why I suffer so much. Because
have you ever heard of Singularity on the meatpacking plant?
Is he, like, really effective at locking down 3 gens on that map?
So what you do is you just completely give up the bottom of the map. Just don't even go down there. Don't even go downstairs. And you just spend the time setting up all your cameras across all the upstairs gens. And once they do all the bottom gens, they just don't win.
That sounds infuriating.
It takes forever, but it's foolproof.
The Ice Nova says, I don't like hatch as a mechanic. I feel like it can really feel unfair to both sides because of how luck-based it is. Even if it is a necessary evil for the 1v1 to not be won 100% of the time by the killer, it still leagues better than before, though. So I actually, by the time you guys see this video, it'll be out. But I actually have a video coming out on the hatch and the advantages and disadvantages of it, and some of the solutions I've heard for getting rid of the hatch. As far as not liking hatch as a mechanic, I am impartial because I have things that I absolutely cannot fucking stand about hatch, and I have things that I love about hatch. So I can't weigh in on this either way, but maybe Bran has some extra thoughts.
My main takeaway is we all came out of a hatch at some point, so we have to respect the hatch. In reality, it's fun. It's fun. It's a little, sudden death mode when you guys both die in Smash Bros. At the same time. You got to do like a little fight at like 100%, and you're just like flying all over the place till somebody dies. Like it's just a fun little thing. It's not that big of a deal. You have to be mad. It's just game. Like, here's the thing. If you already have the 3K as killer, and one guy gets out with hatch, and you're like, that wasn't fair. Like, something's wrong. Something's wrong. Like something is off. That's not a healthy reaction.
Oh my god, dude! I didn't even think about it that way. That is, holy shit, you're right. Like that's, yeah. No, it's yeah. I think my only complaint about the hatch is I can't hear the fucking thing. It's not even just because I'm deaf. It's just because there's way too much ambient noises on these goddamn maps. Like one time I walked right by Hatch because it was over by Water Tower on Dead Dog, where all that fucking bullshit is going on. Like, you know, those like clackety noises that sound like a generator. I walked right by it and my chat was like screaming at me about it. And it was on my left side, so I should have heard it, but I couldn't hear it over the bullshit. Just give me a visual indicator it's nearby. You don't even have to point me in the direction. Just like when I get within like 6 or 7 meters of it, just give me a little hatch icon at the top of the screen. Being like, hey, it's in the area, jackass. And I'll be all right.
I want to hear the funniest thing about this.
What's up?
The hum of the control stations on the Xenomorph is almost the exact same noise the hatch hum. So really far away, the control stations sound like the hatch, and it's the most disorienting thing until you learn the character. Yeah, all three of you Xenomains out there, you know.
That sounds infuriating.
It's really weird.
Mysterious Gamer 9290 says, my personal hot take is that Trapper is not the worst killer in the game, at least not base kit. That title should actually go to Myers now, and they have their personal reasons. Trapper can actually snowball much more effectively than Myers can, especially if certain conditions are met. His iridescent add-ons don't rely on specific conditions like Myers does. Granted, the Eerie Stone add-on is entirely random, but my point still stands. Actually, I think that kind of disproves your point, but that's not.
Yeah, that disproves your point, actually. But
yeah. Ever since Trapper got 10 traps, his lockdown potential skyrocketed. It's quite stupid that I say this in a way, but these 2 extra traps can carry a difference, at least in my eyes. Yeah, assuming you can go get the fucking things. Now, don't get me wrong, Myers has one huge advantage compared to Trapper, and that's his Tombstone piece add-on. The fact that you can willingly get a singular person out right to get-go, always being most powerful. So the discrepancy here is, this is actually another thing that Brand and I disagree on. I think Trapper is worse because I don't think that Trapper's snowball is more consistent than Myers' snowball, because Myers carries his power with him, and Trapper has to go get his fucking power. So Myers only gets 8 stalks, and so he can run out of his power, which feels shit. But Trapper can run out of his power because all of his traps are on the other side of the map, and they just pop the last gen because you spent too much time trying to set your shit up, and now you're on one side of the map with 1 trap in your hand, and what the fuck are you going to do about it? Whereas Myers, he spent all of his time stalking people while they were finishing gens. The last gen just popped, and you have a much more consistent chance to have that tier 3 insta-down up. So that's my reasoning for putting Myers slightly above Trapper. But they're very, very close in being the worst killers in the game. Very, very close.
Yeah, Tombstone piece, it's like Spider-Man Homecoming with Tony Stark and Peter Parker. It's like, if you're not without the suit, you don't deserve to have it. And that's just Myers with the Tombstone piece. Like, he's got to go through his arc where he has to play with, like, they have to rework him to where he does not need that thing. Because other than that, yeah, I agree with you. And I know that's a hot take because, like, we're both wrong. Like, you know, Odds Darva said it was Freddy. So we're both so far. But I agree with you, Mysterious Gamers 9290. Because not only does, like, Myers lose access to his power just by stalking people, but like he literally has a timer on it. Like imagine if you had your Trapper trap, and then just like without it being disabled by a survivor, just every once in a while, just like shut itself. Like that would be, at least when it traps down, it stays down. Myers loses access to his tier 3 after the timer's up. And like Hairbo's, like his purple add-on that's supposed to be the best duration takes too much stock to get into, so it's proportionally not worth it. Like Hairbo's it. That's just.
I actually was thinking today, and it probably isn't a good idea because you would have to like nerf tier 3. But I was thinking today, I was wondering whether or not we should play with the idea of making tier 3 permanent. But I don't know how you would do that without gutting tier 3 and making that like useless.
My idea, without getting too in depth with it, is that stalking applies effects to the survivors, like making them able to teleport to them, a la Pinhead's box, or like paranoia effects, a la Doctor, or some sort of other debuff. Just like actually make the stalk mechanic fun and interesting, and not just training wheels on a character that's already one of the weakest in the game.
Yeah, for sure. Blackjack 2240 says Grim Embrace should be disabled if you kill someone before all 4 first hooks to continue encouraging not tunneling, and something like exhaustion perks for killers should exist. To your first point, no. What? To further encouraging not tunneling, the perk already does that. Saying, oh, we need to put even more limitations on this perk that already encourages you to not tunnel is silly.
No. Let them cook. Now they're double not tunneling. That's literally twice the amount of not tunneling. Do you understand?
Yeah, I feel like so much of this community tries to come up with answers to like get rid of tunneling, and almost every single solution I've ever heard can be countered with, dude, if people want to tunnel, they're just gonna fucking tunnel. Like it's like I've heard of all these nerfs, like, oh, if the killer tunnels then they get punished, and then people are like, no, that's not the right idea, you need to encourage them to not tunnel by yada 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 yada. And I'm like, guys, you're never going to get rid of this quote unquote problem. You're just
killers
not.
Tunnel, they owe on their taxes. Nobody's ever tunneling.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not paying you, Uncle Sam. Fuck you.
Fuck the IRS, dude. And something like exhaustion perks should work for killers should exist. I feel like there would be more of a discussion to be had if you gave me an example. If you gave us an example, then we could work with it. But right now, I don't know what you mean by that.
So my brain's microwaving, and I'm thinking of a scenario where it's like Grim Embrace and Deadman's and Pain Res, and it's not just in Grim Embrace by itself.
Chapface says, I think it might be some form of necessary evil that these sorts of games be survivor-sided. You said this earlier, I think.
Yep, sure
or the larger faction in general to some degree, mostly because of solo queue and the like, even out how much one player can blunder everyone else. Maybe it's just Survivor complaining getting to me, though. I don't know. I don't play Survivor. I mean, I don't disagree. I think that you need to be careful about how Survivor-sided it is. But I don't disagree that it should be survivor-sided, which is a vastly different take to what I had when I first started playing this game.
So I was a teacher for 5 years. Fun fact. Most people know that, but I don't know. Maybe some people don't know who I am. And of course, like I said earlier, how dare you?
Yeah.
But importantly, jokes aside, is we would have parties every once in a while. Not very often, but we have parties, right? So we would bring in food for people. So I would figure out what people like and poll it. And if 80% of the class was cool with pizza, but maybe we had some gluten-free folks, maybe we had some people who just preferred wings or something like that, I would, for the rest of the class, I would get wings, right? If we're looking at Dead by Daylight, we would just make it 50-50 just cuz. Which just doesn't make any sense. If 80% of my class is yeah, we're down with pizza, and 20% are I'm kind of not, or I have an allergy, or I can't eat gluten, then just well, that doesn't make me feel good, so I'm gonna get half and half. So deal with it, because my side matters too.
Yeah.
It's no, I'm gonna get 80% pizza and then 20% something for everybody else, because that's the population.
Yep.
So I don't it's very much a entitlement thing, like it is with a lot of things in this game. It's just not having that frame of reference to understand that it's a 1v4 game. So on average, there's more of those than there are me, and I'm not the center of the universe. And like you said, it's important to still, make sure those people that can't eat gluten get a non-gluten option at the school pizza party, right?
Yeah.
But to say I should make half of the pizzas non-gluten, which is more expensive, by the way, just because there's 20% of the class that needs it, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, for sure. Real quick before we get into the next one, Mr. Gremlin, if people made multiple comments, I removed them, and I must have missed yours, and I apologize for that, but we already responded to you earlier, so we're going to...
Yeah, stop breaking the rules.
Rules that I didn't set before, and that is my fault, but I'm still going to enforce them. So, Rain says, the Knight is not bad to go against and easy to counter. They are definitely easy to counter. I personally don't care if I go against them or not, but other people feel differently, and it's more subjectiveness.
Average Knight? Yes. Good Knights, no. Good Knights will sandwich you all day.
ZM Pixie is going to kick all of our asses.
She is one of the ones that would do it.
Dude, she is a monster. I was watching her play Knight one night, and dude, she it's so funny because she's this fucking over caffeinated, hyperactive semi-horny girl for the night, and like then like she starts playing the character and she turns into like, fucking Ots Darva with her calculations. Like I'm not saying like, oh, I thought Pixie was stupid till I saw the night. I'm just saying like the dynamic between her over hyperactive personality and the fucking cool, cold, calculating player that she is when she plays Knight, the dynamic is insane. She like while she's fucking jittering on fucking Monster Energy or whatever, she's fucking she's fucking sitting there like fucking Foamy the Squirrel, and like you could, but all of her words are like fucking Einstein equations. She's like, I'm gonna put this over here and then I'm gonna go around this way and it's gonna take like 2 seconds for this guard to catch up over here, and so by the time the guard catches up, I'm like, what the fuck is she talking about? She's fucking insane, dude. She's a fucking genius on that character. It's crazy, man. I love Pixie.
Things we do for love.
Yeah, exactly. Toucan says, all right, from most hot to least hot. Cool, we'll focus on the most hot. While Myers should get an add-on rework to give him greater add-on diversity, Tombstone Piece is not an add-on that needs a rework.
I'm gonna stop you there. No. I'm throwing this one out. Sorry. We don't serve your kind here.
The pressure it gives due to it being unclear if he runs it or not, and the ways to play with it to counter it. What counter? Hold on. Okay.
All right. Listen. Pasco, do not collect 200 straight to jail.
that is okay. I stop you there. Here's the thing. I think that the way Tombstone should work, if we keep it, should work, is that only people who have run out of stock should give the Tombstone proc. Right? That's the way I see it. Whether or not
even
we
easier,
rework, yeah,
even easier. Tombstone, fine. Tombstone Piece, no.
Yeah, that's the way it should work. But he's saying that play with it and counter it. Every single time I have ever been tombstoned by a Myers, it has been because he was chasing down a bunch of my team and then he happened to run into me, and I am the first one to get tombstoned every single match. What is the fucking counter to that? Because I'm just minding my own business on the other side of the map, and I see people in chase, and then they're not in chase, and then they are in chase, and then I hear his terror radius, and I go, fuck, it's Myers. So I stand up, and I run out the door, and I run smack into his chest, and he goes, oh, and stabs me, and that's it. That's the game. I'm not saying that it's overpowered or anything, although some people would argue with me that it is. I'm just saying that it's a trend that I notice, and it's very frustrating.
You ever, like you've been in a gen in a dead zone and you know it's a Tombstone Myers and you're just sitting there and he finds you and he just like stands over you, just like watching you do the gen, breathing down your neck like you owe him money. It's very uncomfortable. He's just waiting for the gen to pop so he can just yeet you out of the game.
Yeah, yep, for sure. Dinara says the pig's trap should automatically activate upon being hooked, not when a gen is completed. However, the timer shouldn't start until a survivor is off the hook and not being tunneled. Interesting solution. I mean, the head traps are kind of useless to begin with. Like, there's no urgency to get them off right away until a gen is completed. Then the urgency kicks in. And that's a problem because oftentimes survivors will either just do gens anyway, or they'll go take their head traps off while you're busy trying to use an M1 killer to take down another survivor. And then the traps get like no value. So it's an interesting problem. I don't know about activating them upon being hooked, but I also don't like powers that rely on survivors' mistakes, which is why I don't like Trapper's power. So I don't know. I'm in the middle. I have no idea.
I feel like the pig is the best place they've been, and they're definitely not like B or A tier, but not everybody gets to be a B or A tier.
Yeah.
But I don't think the option is make more head pops happen.
I think I lost you.
Oh, did you?
You said the last sentence you said was I don't think the option is make more head pops happen, and then you just kind of stopped.
Oh no, that was it. That was the
end. That was the end.
No,
okay.
That just had end.
It just ended abruptly, and I was like, wait, did I lose him? Okay.
I just started buffering and realized.
I feel you on that one. Astral. Hey, it's Astral. I love Astral.
Ooh, congrats on the P100 artist guide coming.
Yeah, they did tell me that in my chat. That was really cool. Midwich is the best map in the game for many reasons, not from a competitive standpoint. That would be Cold Tower. I fucking hate Cold Tower.
Got an opinion.
Limited resources, so survivors have to know when to use them and when not to. It's a fairly good teaching map, especially if you want to teach how to loot path palettes. Beautiful aesthetic, probably the only map in the game that keeps me on edge.
That's why.
Fairly kind to most killers except Legion. That map is horrible for Legion. And I know it's a hot take, but I always bring Midwich as Survivor. It ain't a killer-sided map when I bring it. It's a me-sided map. Fucking Astral, dude.
For the first part, no, because what happens is that there's two rooms on Midwich that can spawn, and they are just desks. That's it. It's just a classroom. No window, no pallet. There's just nothing, and it can happen twice. In the same map. So I think Midwich, yes, absolutely my favorite map in the game because I like Silent Hill. Aesthetically, it's beautiful, moody, mysterious, creepy. The two main problems with Midwich is obviously a little bit more in the way of resources. That makes a little bit more sense. And also open up the map a little bit so you can get to the courtyard easier, so you can get upstairs easier, and then it's like the perfect map. Yeah,
for sure. Atmosphere, it's great, man. The first time I ever played Survivor, like the first night, my first match on Midwich was against a Dredge. That was the most terrifying match I have ever had in this game since. That was incredibly scary. Like, that motherfucker was popping out of nowhere. It was great. Best map in the game is subjective. I don't really have a best map in the game. I'm kind of apathetic toward, like, 90% of the maps in this game, and the other 10% I fucking can't stand. But I do think that Midwich is one of the more better designed maps. But like you said, those desk rooms really need something. I don't know what. They need something, though. Oh, dude, speaking of Midwich, I just remembered this. Bennett told me that somebody in your chat was arguing that Midwich was an infinite loop if people just held W down the hallways.
I wanted to crawl out of my own skin.
Like, Bennett was like, yeah, we tried to explain to them that that's not how math works, and they wouldn't believe us. I was like, what?
Self-love is looking at those conversations and going, I don't feel like having this conversation anymore.
Felt.
You don't even say no. You just say, I'm done.
Yeah. I do that a lot on my stream. I'm just like, okay, all right, we're not doing this anymore. Mama G Herbear. This is a bit long. I apologize in advance. Okay, you know what?
Appreciate for the novelization.
I have a D12 in my bag, so I'm just gonna roll a D12 and we're gonna pick one from there. I'm doing Dungeons and Dragons content now, by the way. So
yeah, because on June 3rd we're getting the Dungeons and Dragons chapter where you can get the Bard survivors and Vecna.
All right, I rolled 11. The Shroud of Binding and Shroud of Separation offerings should swap sides. It's better for survivors to be split up than to be together. I agree. I think
that'd be cool. And it's easy.
Yeah, we both agree on that. All right, moving on. Tunneling is either based on the survivor and their skill level. If the killer tunnels out a bad survivor, he literally does the correct play. If the killer tries to tunnel a survivor, that is amazing. He will most certainly lose in the long run or only get his one kill in the end. Not to mention that complaining about tunneling at 5 gens is very much idiotic. Is it also on the survivor? Literal math proves that if someone is getting tunneled at 5 gens, the killer gets away with it. It's either
figurative math.
It's either because the survivor is getting hardcore farmed or survivors are not doing gens at all. I'm not trying to justify that tunneling is fun, even though I like being tunneled as survivors. It gives me more interaction with the killer. But the amount of people that jump the gun, evil killers do the bad skill less thing when it's entirely on them to invade. Okay, so this is a whole heaping big pot of fire from Cotsworth.
Well,
Tunneling.
I've looked at each paragraph. I've taken my notes, and I've come to the conclusion of no.
It's not entirely based on Survivor. It is sort of. We've talked about Survivor-induced tunneling before, but it's not entirely the Survivor's fault 100% of the time. I would say like 85% of the time is the Survivor's fault. But
I think it's important that they mention here that they're specifically talking about tunneling at 5 gens, and that if the killer just so happens to choose somebody who's good at looping, it's bad for them, which they usually don't do, A. And B, if the rest of the team isn't good after they tunnel that person out, they snowball.
Yeah.
Because the rest of the team's not that good.
Yeah. It's there's a lot of controversy around the tunneling at 5 gens thing. I personally don't like it because I would like to just play the video game. But I also recognize that it doesn't happen as often as people pretend like it does. So I get annoyed, I get pissed off, I call the killer cringe, and then I move on. But at the end of the day, I think that it is something that's a problem when it happens. Because even if someone is getting tunneled out at 5 gens, like I got tunneled out at 5 gens by a Huntress, and my entire team did all the gens while I was getting tunneled, except for one who kept coming to, re-unhook me. And they did manage to complete those 5 gens, and that was great, but I still died, which was fucking annoying. And then a Steve BM'd in the exit gate and got no-edited by a Huntress. So she got a 2K for tunneling me out at 5 gens. It's also one of those things where it's like, oh, well, it's all the survivor's fault, so you can't complain. But like, brother, most people play this game in solo queue. So yeah, if my teammates are doing jack shit while I'm getting fucking
math. That's actually that's stats provided by behavior.
Yeah. If I'm getting tunneled out at 5 gens and my team isn't doing shit, yeah, I'm gonna get fucking pissed off because my team's not doing shit. I get to be upset that my team is fucking sandbagging me, bro. Like, I don't know, man. This is such a loaded one, and I don't know if I want to touch this until I make another tunneling video. But you got some good points and some points that are just kind of like, I think entirely too far to the killer bias, if I'm being real.
I think it goes into that big file canon of ones that we've read so far that are, well, the game's not a problem if you're not just bad. Yeah, it's like, it's not really the case.
Oh my god, dude. Yeah, that is so many hot takes in this game. It's just like, oh, if you just weren't shit at the game.
Misinformation. Yes, that is something that is a problem, and we should address and inform as much as we can. Just everybody's just terrible. It's like such an easy way to. It's like we talked about that in one of the videos that we talked about like last month. Was like ad hominem is a very big thing. Mm-hmm. If we can just ruin the reputation of who we're talking about, then we can prove our points right.
Yeah, it's like I hate the term skill issue because it's just become a catch-all in recent memory, and it's just like sometimes I'm like, okay, your problem with this is unironically a skill issue, because like then I'm like, I'm not trying to be an asshole and just dismiss your arguments, right? But I'll also usually follow it up with, hey, this is a skill issue because, and then explain it. But like, I feel like way too many people just yell skill issue and leave it at that and pretend like that's a valid thing to say. Like, if it's a skill issue, explain to me why it's a skill issue. You know what I mean? We're almost done. We're almost to the top. Galamatic says Midwich is a very fun map on Survivor and has one of the best atmosphere out of most map. Oh, we just read this. Woo! Some killers are obviously very good on the map, but I still have an enjoyable time. Things like Dredge, dude, Dredge on Midwich is so scary. Yeah, we agree with you there.
Objectively, probably needs some work, but subjectively, love Midwich.
Yeah. It's just Brad TV. Unironically, I think that the developers work really hard on this game, and I think they've done a pretty good job so far.
Good job so far.
I agree that unironically they have done. I know the 7.7.0 patch caused a lot of hatred, a lot of people, way too many people were being like, haha, see, Kaiser, behavior actually does suck because of this one patch. And I'm like, no, it sucked. The patch sucked. Don't get me wrong.
Absolutely. The epilepsy thing was really rough.
Yeah. It was definitely like a very bad move on them, but I'm not going to just throw away all the goodwill they built up over one patch. I just won't.
Which is really funny, by the way. You can cut this out if you want. It's really funny because they said they revealed the consultant thing. They tested that. Tested that. And they're like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm curious if nobody on the consultant team caught it somehow, or if like what
caught
happened.
all of it,
dude. But that's I'm trying to figure out what happened, because it's got to be an executive decision, right? I don't think Kote or somebody like that would push that shit out like it was.
Okay, I know some answers to that, but I don't know how much of that I'm allowed to talk about because I can tell you that after the video.
Okay. So where were we? Oh yes. Epex, not Apex, says Coquin Farms are still hands down most survive. That is wrong. That is so wrong.
You say that when Vadim exists?
Let me see here. Rotten Fields is a killer-sided map because it's really fucking tiny and it does not have.
It's huge. It's huge.
It doesn't have as many good loops in it as it should. Like there's one shack in the middle and then a few.
Wait,
like,
you think Rotten Fields is
killer-sided? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely not.
No, it's definitely killer-sided.
It's one of the bigger maps in the game. It's got an entire outside loop that's entirely connected.
Most of those loops are trash.
They're not. Cart loops are really, really good. It's got cow tree. The tractor loops, yes. Tractor loops aren't that great. Got formal tiles.
I mean, I never have trouble on it. Maybe it's just my experience. Maybe I'm just too anecdotal with it.
You also play Billy, who is usually very all right on corn.
But in my opinion, Rotten Fields is killer-sided. Thompson House is kind of survivor side. I wouldn't say. Would you say Thompson House? I mean, the main building's really strong.
Thompson House is very long map. I think it's 150 square tiles. The most of the map is really strong on the right side. The left side's kind of a dead zone.
Yeah,
like there's one tile, and once that pallet goes down, that entire left side's like dead.
Yeah.
Until you get to where the house is.
Yeah, it's kind of like Nostramu. Like one side of the map is killer-sided, one side is survivor-sided, which I think is a great design for maps, by the way. Rancid Arbiter has that whole fucking dead zone on the left side of the map, which is fucking obnoxious. You got caught out in that. We were playing against a Xenomorph during one of your Swift nights, and you got caught out on the left side of Arbiter.
I remember that match. They brought 4 slowdown. That was Thompson House. No, that was Torment Creek.
Torment Creek. Yeah, I always call it.
Because that's the same thing.
Yeah, it's the one with the big blimp.
Yeah, it's a fallen style.
Yeah, that's Torment Creek. I always get Torment Creek and Rancid Arbiter, and then Rancid Arbiter got like much better after the rework because that barn used to be an infinite, and it's no longer an infinite. It's still annoying. That
window was so good.
Oh my god, dude, it was terrible. I had a clip of me on Reddit. I posted it, by the way, where I decided to see how long it would take me to catch a Nay. Like I actively played badly, not badly as in like micro, but macro sense to see how long it would take me to catch her. And she ran me for 3.5 gens on that barn alone. And by the time I downed her, they popped the last generator. She got adrenaline under the pallet she was on, and then stunned me and got out the gate.
You know what's really funny? If you really like that loop, your Crow's main building still has that window.
Yeah.
One on the side that you have to break the brick wall on.
Mm-hmm.
It's essentially the same thing.
Yeah. Really, 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 really fucking annoying. Monroe says, okay, mine is about Franklin's. Like, I'm fine with losing charges in the item in the match, but to lose it permanently sucks. Like, come on, I worked hard on those blood points, and not being able to take it with me if I can't find it, it just irks me.
Just return it. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. No, that's, you know what? I don't disagree. I don't agree either because I think it's really funny to knock a. I went against a fucking hag, and their name was Your Item's Mine, and they would just their entire thing is to run Franklin's, hit the first survivor they can see, and instant DC. And I don't know, man. That's just really funny to me. It happened to me. It happened to me. It was really funny.
Compromise. Franklin's gets buffed as well. So yeah, items return back to your inventory, but the moment they hit you, it immediately goes back to the inventory. No charges. It just boop.
That would be hilarious.
Back to the bench, bitch.
That would be hilarious. Rock Music Lover says Knight is pretty fun to use if you don't just 3-gen and instead use your guards. Yeah, oh yeah, dude. Knight is hella fun. I love playing Knight. I love Knight so much.
I am not a fan of any of the archetypes, which are I stand with you for free, but I don't know. They're just like my little guys, you know, like my little minions. And I get so proud of them when they finally do it.
Yeah. Hot take: Singularity is one of the most fun killers to win with.
Yeah, I feel like people came around to that one.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that one because the thing about it is that the reason Singularity can sometimes be irritating is because like you win most of the time because the survivors are not using EMPs correctly, but sometimes it's your Gigabrain shit, and it feels good to pull off Gigabrain shit. Also saw your video of you playing Jeff with the name Sleep Token Simp. I love them. Sleep Token is the best band ever. They are my favorite band, hands down. I listen to their Take Me Back to Edom album every single night to go to sleep. I literally have not played another type of music to go to sleep every single night for like the past like month. Ordo Sarek Kayako? Do you know what Kayako is?
It's a kayak brand.
Would be one of the best.
Oh, it's a. I've heard of this before. It's another spirit film akin to the Onryo.
Okay. We don't. Neither of us really know much about it, so we'll just choose another one for you.
It is a crossover of the Ju-on and the Ring series.
Okay. Corrupt should be given the lethal pursuer treatment. I agree with this. I came up with this idea. This is my idea. This is my fucking idea. Corrupt should be buffed to where it has the lethal pursuer effect of whenever a Jinn is blocked and it would be unblocked, it lasts for like an additional like 5 seconds or something. That is my idea. I love that, dude.
That's a good compromise between just rebuffing Corrupt.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, it's great. Cat Lover, who is also a channel member, which for some reason doesn't have her badge. That's weird. Cat Lover.
Where'd you lose your badge? Bring it to the comment section.
They have it. I know they do. I just saw them resub a few days ago. I think this D&D chapter is the best anniversary chapter, if not the best chapter we have ever gotten. I'm not the biggest D&D fan, but this chapter is so cool and unique that I think it really is the best in that way, and it opens up a door for many more possibilities we can get. I agree, and not just because I'm a Dungeons and Dragons nerd, because I'll tell you guys right now, if they would have fucked this chapter up, I would have been the loudest voice about it. Dungeons and Dragons is literally my favorite hobby. It is my favorite thing of all time. I love it so much. I miss it. I haven't gotten to play in 2 years. So if they would have fucked this chapter up, you would have seen me fucking furious. But they didn't. And I said this during the dev stream, but Vecna, basically we're playing a different game when Vecna's involved. You've got magic items. You've got a unique power set. You are playing a different game when Vecna is involved. They did a fantastic job with this, and it is my favorite chapter to date.
Yeah, could I say anything that could ever follow up on that? I mean, like, you go, girl.
Oh man.
Period.
Yeah. Ryan Gesture says ruin undying meta time. Wait, what the fuck? Ruin Undying meta time and for distance, dead hard DS and Unbreakable with no MMR was the time that this game was the most fun. You know what? You know more about this than I do. You take this one.
No. I feel like so many things I just say, no. Fun at other people's expense is not fun. While Ruin Undying meta was super great for killers because you had to pop 5 totems to get rid of the fucking thing. Survivors were miserable. Same thing with DS, Dead Hard, Unbreakable. I didn't like somebody being able to get on a gen in front of me, and if I hit them and I slugged them, they got back up. If I pulled them off the gen, I got DS. It's dumb, and you know it's dumb, and you know it's terrible, and I just, don't pay attention to every dog who barks. Like. That's a joke for just making that clear. But this is very much the quintessential hot take. Usually hot takes are cool if it's like, okay, well that's kind of out there, but like I can kind of see where you're coming from. That one has no credence to it, I don't think, and I feel like there's so much of the Dead by Daylight, like rose-tinted glasses looking at the past about old metas that were super unbalanced and super fun was creating misery for somebody else. They just don't connect the impact they were having on other people while they were doing these things.
Fair enough. Cassian, and that's as far as I'm going to try to pronounce that name. Singularity has the highest skill ceiling compared to all the... No. Okay, I'm going to stop you right fucking there. As I explained earlier, I mean, you weren't there, obviously. You didn't make this comment and see into the fucking future, but I will explain it again. People confuse mechanical floors and ceilings with skill floors and ceilings. Skill floors and ceilings are related to the amount of value that you can get versus the skill level that you have. Singularity has one of the highest skill floors in the game, but the amount of value that his power gives is anywhere close compared to Nurse, Blight, Spirit, Billy, all of that. You can have thousands and thousands and thousands of hours in Singularity, and the value of his power will never reach those killers. But he does have one of the highest skill floors because he is so complicated, and I will tell you that he is incredibly fun to win with and incredibly fun to play once you get over that skill floor. But to say he has the highest skill ceiling is either A, misunderstanding of what skill ceiling actually means, or B, is your love for the character is blinding you to where it actually belongs in the dynamic.
You know, I knew you could buy RAM for your computer, but I didn't know you could buy wrinkles for your brain.
Just Bible says, I believe Unbreakable should be... Here we go with this fucking base kit shit, bro. I wasn't really around and didn't know about the old PTB where they tried and failed doing this, but if you want, you could add it back and improve on it. It's so annoying to go into a match and be slugged, not have Unbreakable or anything, and either A, DC, or get a long-ass penalty. How often are you DCing that you're getting long-ass penalties?
See, that's why I said just bleed out option.
Yeah.
Like after a minute, you just give up.
Yeah. Yeah, so you sit there and you die, or you can make Unbreakable work unlimited times if you have it. Unbreakable work unlimited times if you have it.
Yeah, let's just take a top 5 perk in the game and just make it infinite. That was not wasn't the it's funny that they opened this with, well, I wasn't around for the PTB where we found out why there was an issue, but let's just see what the issues are. Which is what we found out in the PTB.
Yeah. Also, buff self-care to 50 or 70%. That perk is ass. When it was, so I wasn't around. I don't think you were either. I don't know. But when self-care was a good perk, it was oppressive. Kind of there. Yeah. It was very, very bad for I mean, back then you could heal in you could heal yourself up in 8 seconds, 10 seconds. Okay,
I wasn't around for that. That was the worst version of that. That was, whew. It's one of those perks that you can't make good, because if it's good, it's OP, and if it's bad, it's not worth bringing. It's just the effect it has cannot be balanced. There's a lot of stuff like that, like circle and stuff like that. There's not really good middle ground.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, as far as the Unbreakable base kit thing, man, is just and I don't want to say this to be mean, but when you're a new player and you weren't around for certain things, there's a lot of stuff that you say that lets people in on the fact you're a new player, and one of those things is saying that Unbreakable should work unlimited times, because that perk is fucking insane. That is the best.
It literally changed the entire tide of an entire match through one of them.
Yeah.
So a whole team having infinite Unbreakable,
yeah, that would be a world of misery.
It's back to the Coliseum joke, right? Put you in a Coliseum, Just Bible 70939. Praise the Lord against infinite Unbreakables. Have you play Myers, no Tombstone?
Yeah. It's just, I think when a lot of people talk about buffing survivor perks or changing survivor perks, they kind of forget that there's 4 survivors in the trial, and all 4 of those survivors can bring that perk. So if you make a perk overly strong, it's 4 times as strong. It's not a good look. Berserk Carrot says, instead of having PTBs exclusive to PC, they should release a new killer and survivors to the live servers for a week or so, kind of like Overwatch, to be more inclusive. The reason Overwatch is able to do that is because Blizzard has a shitload of money, and Sony are a bunch of bitches.
Asterisk?
Go for it.
We have game modes now. PTB game mode. Just for the normal length of a PTB. Have another game mode that's the PTB, so everybody can participate.
See, this is why we have Bran around. That is a very good idea.
I have very rare smart moments. Usually they come in bursts. That was the last one for the next 2 months.
By the way, this is the ex-teacher. I'm the dumbass who dedicated their life to stand-up comedy, by the way.
Well, studying really hard. It's being smart.
Dave says killers should be designed with the idea of being balanced and viable and not fun to go against as survivor. I know I have said this a lot.
They're fun.
But old Deathslinger was well balanced and he should be reverted. Balanced does not equals fun to go against, dude.
Yeah, video games aren't about fun. Winning is it. If you like fun, you're a little bitch.
Bro, listen. All right, man. Listen to me, man. I am one of the first people to call out motherfuckers who yell "this game casual," and be like, actually, if you look at the definition of competitive, right? I'm one of the first people to be fucking pedantic on that. But this is not League of Legends, dog. This is not Overwatch. This is not a game that is designed to be a fucking esports game. It's a game that's designed for people to log on, kill an hour or two with their friends or by themselves, and log the fuck off, dog. We have to balance for fun and viability. We have to balance for both. But
I just don't get where this even begins. Like, don't design things with fun in mind. This is a video. This isn't like your business pitch to your CEO. This is a video game. They're made for fun and relaxation and enjoyment. What do you mean? Don't design it for fun?
Yeah, like that is just
I'm opening a restaurant. We really shouldn't design the food to taste good. It's all about the atmosphere.
Live sleep token show every night, but the food tastes like it was cooked inside of a skunk's asshole.
See, you get it. Thanks, Dave. You've showed us the light.
American Eagles says Trapper is overtuned because I can't read this. No, you get to read it. I'm gonna highlight it just so you can read it out loud. I'm not reading this.
Trapper is overtuned because he can completely shut down multiple overtuned loops for basically for free. He's like the nurse, but without any true counterplay. Trapper's map traversal might be weak, but his overtuned loop canceling makes up for all of his downsides, especially if he traps multiple loops at the start. They should really consider giving Nurse some bear traps for her control. Okay, this is a troll. That's a troll.
This is definitely a troll.
That's bait. That's bait.
This is such rage bait, bro. I'm removing
this.
Bait.
That's bait. Okay. Goodbye.
Blah 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 should be base kit. We're moving on.
No base kit. No more base kit.
This is the danger of doing something like this, man, because like so many of these are just the same one worded slightly differently, and oh my god. I love all of you, by the way. Thank you for 5K, but you guys are wild. Holy shit. I'm just gonna okay. I miss old Gearhead. I think it was better because the information was more blatant.
How do you have that much? Okay, there's more. This is just a wall of text, but there's different points. I just realized there's like a hot take number 4, hot take number 5. That's why.
Okay, all right. That's
just formatted weird.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll just go with this one. It was easier to work with, and I also think they're more accurate to Deathslinger. Ears for gears, not people. One time, if I remember correctly, I even won a game because of it. So I'm gonna be I'm gonna be completely honest with you, Crash. Old Gearhead was so unbelievably useless. I don't even remember what it fucking did before the rework.
Usually when somebody says hot take, this perk's actually good. Like they said, they won the match once and they're like, wow, I actually got some value. So ergo, it is objectively good. Glycopod. I love Glycopod.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Like so many times people are like, actually this perk or this killer or fucking this dildo or whatever is really good because in this very rare instance it worked out for me. And it's like that's why it's bad. Because the only time you can explain to me why it's good is incredibly rare instances. If I have a box and I stick my hand in that box and it's got a 99.999% chance to cut my hand off, but it's got a 0.00001% chance to give me $1 billion, it's not a good box. It's a bad box. Does my analogy make sense, or am I just sleep deprived? Let's move on. So how did you say their name? Glycopod says, personally, I find the knight is very fun to play as and against. Playing as him makes me feel like I'm a master strategist, placing my guards in order to disrupt survivors' long gens, along with the ability to multitask by chasing more than one survivor across the map. Playing against him I find fun because when getting chased by a guard, I always try to listen for the knight to see if he's trying to sandwich me. I know sometimes it's unavoidable, and that's why most don't like the knight personally, but I don't find it annoying. I perfectly understand the dislike people have towards the knight. I don't feel the dislike myself. Easy. Yeah. No, I'm down with that. I find it both fun to play as and against as well. I agree.
Like I said, I like facing average and bad knights. Good knights.
Yeah.
You can say good night.
Mr. Cookie Cutter says, I think Dredge is a killer that is seriously underrated in terms of his power level. The only real issue with Dredge is locker spawn, which is less than the fault of the killer and more of an issue with the maps, similar to how Billy is screwed over by indoor maps, but is still considered very strong. Dredge is a notable anti-loop. It's not that notable. and powerful map pressure and an all-right chase. He is the king of cutting survivors off, and I think is way stronger than people give him credit for. I'd say he's high B tier. So here's the thing. When you're saying trying to argue for the power level of killers, if you have to go, yeah, here's this big weakness and that's why everybody places him there, but if that weakness didn't exist,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, the weakness exists and that's why we put him there. In a world where the weakness didn't exist, sure, we could talk about that when it happens, but because the weakness exists, he is put there. That weakness is why he's put there. So you can't just be like, if we just ignore this weakness, then he's higher. Because the weakness is there, regardless of whether or not you want to, you know, stick your head in the sand. In general,
there's two things I like with this. First, the reason, the educational thing, the reason that Dredge is so maligned when it comes to where do we put him on tier list and people fight over that so much is because he is so map dependent, because of those locker spawns. So on like Midwich, S tier killer.
Yeah.
But on like Rotten Fields, or the family residence, like, good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck. He might as well be a D tier killer. So his performance is so invariable that you can't really place him somewhere solid, but as a result, he can't be good either.
Yeah, exactly.
So, did you watch Powerpuff Girls growing up?
I did, yes.
So the professor's trying to make the perfect little girls, and he can't do it for like longest time. And then the secret was
Chemical X, yeah.
Chemical X. The Chemical X of understanding anything, the power of Perk's characters, anything in Dead by Daylight, especially in terms of tier lists, is consistency. Chemical X in this case is the consistency of it.
Yep.
Dredge is by nature tremendously inconsistent, and that is why he can't be placed super high.
Yep, exactly. That is the whole thing, is consistency. That's where we get our power level guesses from, and that's why power level guesses can sometimes be so vastly disagreed upon, because some people, not necessarily you, we've seen it multiple times throughout this 2.5 hour video, but some people like to just ignore the inconsistencies and then use that to make their judgments. And that's why there's so much discrepancy among tier lists, is because people like to just ignore the inconsistencies. But when some people like me and Brand do power level tier lists, we look for consistency. And that's the big thing. Gen Rush Dude says Nurse should have a short delay, maybe 0.5 seconds after blinking before she can swing. I hate watching a nurse blink to me and swing at me before she's even completed the blink. Would that matter?
It makes her feel more clunky, and it wouldn't fix the issue.
Yeah, I don't think that would matter.
Making a character feel worse to play is never the answer, no matter what.
Yeah, me personally, my answer was to just make stuns and blinds remove all of her tokens. Then like,
idea?
Huh?
What my idea?
What's your idea?
You know how Dredge with somebody's near a locker, you get the little entity blockers.
Mm-hmm.
If Nurse is going to blink, she can't do that around windows and pallets, so she still has to play them. But she can blink around them, a la like a Pyramid Head M2.
That's an interesting. Yeah, that is interesting. I wonder how well that would translate into gameplay.
She would still be very good, top 3, top 5 character in the game, but she at least had to mind the windows, mind the pallets.
Yeah. It's 09. Behavior needs to add back depipping. Way too many people are killing themselves on hook just to escape a killer because there's no downside to it. Before you're getting rid of your progress for that 1 sweet million blood points, now you're getting rid of 1 minute. It's fucking sucks as killer. I didn't queue for 5 minutes just to have a game that lasts 3. How many of your games is this happening where you felt the need to make this? That's my question. Because I'm not seeing that as much as killer. And no, behavior, I don't care what the consequences are. Depipping was awful. It was a rank punishment for a non-rank system.
Yeah. I had this discussion with somebody else on my stream recently. Was like, I can't believe they're all de-singing your game, and I'm like, I was playing Knight, funnily enough. We had that conversation a lot today. Of like, woo, go get him! Like, I was like having the guards hunt down the bots, and just kind of like, I was just having fun. Like, I was just like, you know, most, especially on the normal mode, so many matches Dead by Daylight are so sweaty and intense and cringy. So like when I get a match where like somebody gives up on Hook at like 4 gens, I'm like, oh, cool. I don't have to think this match. Cool.
Yeah.
it's like a break to me.
Yeah. Yeah, like, don't get me wrong, I get it. If it happens, like, multiple times in a row, it can get frustrating, but, like, that's why I asked, like, how often are you queuing for 5 to have a game that lasts 3 that this was the take you had? Because I'm not going to tell you what your life experiences are, but I don't think it's happening that often. I think it's very similar to the I get tunneled every day, every game type of attitude, where it's like, I think that the tunneling is such a negative impact in your mind that you're forgetting everything else. Because I just don't think, I don't think that you're running into it this often. But regardless, even if you were, that sucks for you. But no, removing depipping was the right move, 100%.
Generally, also don't remember the last time outside of PTB queue times that I ever had a more than a 5-minute queue. Like, it's been years since DBD has had bad queue times for me.
I think if I queue up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, I'll get long Survivor queues, but that's about it.
Yeah, Survivor can get kind of long, especially if I'm like grouped up.
Yeah.
But like, I don't think it even hits 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think the most mine have ever done is like 3.5.
Yeah. Like, usually, even when I have to like get up, go get a break, like go use the restroom, do a break, I can come back and like we're in a lobby, ready to do a match, or the match is loading.
Yeah, exactly. And that's all of our hot takes today. Thank you guys again for 5,000 subscribers, and thank you to Bran for joining me. It's super late for both of us, but we did manage to slide this in. And this video is coming out on the 3rd of June. So
chapter release day.
Yeah, we will already be well into Pride Month and chapter release day.
Double whammy, cool.
Yeah, so we're going to, that's when this video is being released. So but thank you again, Bran. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for 5K subscribers, and as always, great big special thank you to my channel members listed on screen now. If you want to find out how to become a channel member today, get awesome perks like seeing videos early, merch discount codes, and more, then please click that join button down below. Bran, you got anything left to say to the people out there?
I love you, platonically.
Yeah, I love you all, and we'll see you in the next one. Can't get enough daily Dead by Daylight content? Then check out my second channel, DeKaiser Extras, where I upload gameplay footage, me reacting to your Dead by Daylight clips, and more. We also have a new short that goes live every single day, so you can catch up on all the greatest clips from stream. We'll see you over there. Link is in the description.